Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for March the 18th, 2013. Call the meeting to order. Remind everybody that this meeting is being audio taped and videotaped. First on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Peterson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Okay, we started a little bit late tonight. Just to remind everybody, it's about 7:07. We are now in Citizens Query from 7:05 to 7:15. So if anybody has any questions in the audience at this time, we are open to questions of the board. We can't respond, but we can, listen to any question from the audience. So, moving on, and again, we will be in Citizen Query until 7:15. Chairman's comments, I have none tonight. And we will have a joint meeting at 7:15 with the Personnel Board. And I want to move on to general business number 2. Mr. LaBelle, you're in the audience here.
Yes,
Rick,
sir.
could you come up here and sit, please? Thank you. And I'm going to jump ahead. And, Mr. LaBelle is here to discuss his letter. A copy of the order and agreement is attached to the letter. It clearly states under number 4 that the dog must be confined to a secure fenced area yard, and that will. But before I read that portion, let me go back. There is an email from Richard D. LaBelle, 221 Boxwood Road. Dear Board of Selectmen, I am writing to request a resolution to the apparent ongoing problem with my neighbor. As you may remember, my neighbor, Mr. Passanisi of 226 Boxwood Road, was ordered by your board to permanently restrain his dog. This was done after it was determined that the dog attacked and killed one of my pet goats and nearly killed 2 others. The board originally voted to euthanize the dog. After your decision, he made claims that it was a coyote attack and his dog actually scared away the coyote. After much support by people from across the area to save the dog, you overturned your decision rather than letting the case take its natural progression through the courts. You should know we have never had an attack from coyotes or a single sighting of coyotes. I have lived in this property my entire life, 52 years. It has now been approximately 5 years since the incident. He is now apparently does not think permanently restrained means just that. I've reported to the Raleigh Police and the dog office at least 4 occasions recently where we have seen his dog unrestrained. One incident was right at our property line, and another was at the end of his driveway directly across the street, across from our property. On 2 occasions, Mr. Passanini was with his dog and holding his leash in his hands without the dog restrained. Not only are these incidents a violation of leash law, but they are all in violation of the permanent restraint order. Mr. Passanisi has a history of not following the law regarding his dog. He had a prior incident in Salem, Massachusetts before moving here. He had only lived here 30 days before the attack. My family and our animals are still concerned about when the dog will attack again. Our animals still get nervous and look towards his property when his dog barks. He walks his dog on our side of the road as well. We feel he is just taunting us, but have never complained because on occasions the dog was leashed. I am once again looking for your assistance, and I am requesting that the dog be ordered out of the neighborhood due to the fact that its owner, Mr. Michael Passanini, is not a responsible dog owner and does not follow the simple rules placed on him. I do not know if the dog office has issued any fines for the reported violations. I look forward to hearing from your board regarding this matter. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Richard T. LaBelle, 221 Boxwood Road. Okay. And I'll go back. Again, a copy of the order and agreement is attached to this letter. It clearly states under number 4 that the dog must be confined to a secure fenced area of the yard and that when it's taken off the premises, the dog shall be leashed under control at all times. Animal Control Officer Reed Wilson went to the dog owner's premises and presented an individual at that home with a copy of the order in agreement. Reed explained to this person that under number 4, the dog needs to be restrained. He was unable to reach the owner of the dog. Reed also contacted the police department to let them know that he dropped off a copy of the order of agreement. And the order of agreement reads, number 1, the prior order to euthanize Nico, issued on 3/17/8, is hereby rescinded, withdrawn, and of no effect. The board finds that there, number 2, the board finds that there are no sufficient facts to make the determination that Nico is a vicious or that he committed acts of which he is accused from 2/13/08 incident. Number 3, Mr. Passanini is not and will not be held liable by the town of Raleigh or any of its agents, servants, employees, or subcontractors for any in all past, present, and future claims arising out of the alleged 2/13/08 incident. 4, the Board of Selectmen hereby order that Mr. Passanini and his agents shall keep Nico confined to a secure fenced area of the yard, and that when taken off the premises, Nico shall be leashed and under control at all times. And this is signed by David Peterson, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and also Michael Passanini, and this was dated 4/7/08. And with that, Mr. LaBelle, do you have anything to say?
Just that I know it's been 5 years, but it seems like all of a sudden the last several months he's just disregarding what was told. There were 4 incidents that maybe by coincidence we happened to be home and observed it. On 2 occasions that I saw him personally out with his dog. One was in the morning, I was going to work. One was in the afternoon, I was coming home from work. The other occasion, my wife happened to look out the kitchen window, the dining room window, and he was on our side of the street at the property line. Not him, one of his friends who came by to let the dog out. Mm-hmm. And this gentleman had walked the dog on numerous occasions. On this particular time, the dog was off lead and walking down over the embankment between my house and my mother's house. This is easily within, 100 yards of where our animals are penned.
Now, you said off-leashed?
Off-leash.
Off-leash.
And the last occasion that I saw was another person was cleaning his driveway, and he was at the end of the driveway, and the dog was off-leash, just walking around with the guy. Hadn't crossed the street. The dog didn't advance onto our property or anything, but, I strongly disagree with the, thing that there was no facts relative to, the original incident, because he came on our property and said his dog did it. That was a quote from him, that his dog killed our goat. And then he came up with this coyote story. And everything blew up in the newspapers. The Herald was at our house. It was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. The paper refers to the dog as a Labrador mix. Anybody who has any knowledge of dogs clearly knows this dog has pit bull in it. You can look at the bone structure, the color of its coat. It may have Labrador, but there's no doubt in my mind that the dog has pit bull. There has never been a coyote on my property that I've seen. There's never been an attack by coyotes. Mm-hmm. The prior incident in Salem, he had 2 of them. One was not having his dog registered, and one was an attack by the same dog. I've lived on the property my entire life. We do what we're supposed to do in the town of Raleigh. My wife and I are both born here, lifelong residents. We don't bother anybody. And, since the incident, they were pets. As much as people don't want to think farm animals can be pets, goats are. They walked with us. They came when we called. We used to walk with them out in the state forest. The 2 remaining goats will not even leave the pen now. We can't get them to come out. Every time that dog barks, they look towards his property. There's other dogs in the neighborhood that bark. They're not even affected by those dogs. Mm-hmm. And now it's almost like we feel like it's been 5 years and he doesn't care anymore. He hasn't bothered to tell his friends that come over to walk the dog the importance of this. And if a farm animal, a goat, can remember a dog's bark, there's no doubt in my mind a dog can remember what it did prior to 5 years. Mm-hmm. you know, on the attack. And I'm looking for some relief. I don't know where it can go.
Okay.
You know?
All right, thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Reed, can you give me any more details?
Okay, in this past week, on the 10th, I made contact with him. I actually finally caught up with him.
Mr. Passanisi?
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to him. I said, we've had reports of dogs running at large out without a leash. And he gave me this, excuse me, this story that the town exonerated his dog of all things. I never did get, I don't recall ever getting a copy of that last order. So first thing Monday morning on the 11th, I was down here trying to get a copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
When I finally did get a copy, you know, I spent the weekend trying to catch up with him this past weekend, and every time I did, he wasn't home, or I don't know if he was hiding in the house. I don't know. I'm not. But I may find, you know, one of his people was living in the house. I gave a copy of the order, and I highlighted number 4 with a yellow thing explaining this thing. I said, you sure Mr. Passini gets this?
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I've talked to him a couple of times, and he just, you know. But I will admit, I haven't cited him because I don't know if I can actually sign him if I don't see the dog off the leash.
Well, I think
If I don't see it, I don't know if I'm you know, if I can legally do that. You know, just so. But you know, if I have to, I'll start, you know, writing tickets. You know, I trust Mr. LaBelle, but you know, other than that,
Mhm.
you know, if somebody tells me, you know, Joe Smith's dog's off the leash, you know, how am I supposed, you know, if I don't have any proof?
Any comments from the board?
If I remember correctly, 5 years ago I was here,
Mm-hmm.
and Nico was ordered permanently restrained.
Yeah. That's when I got a copy of the thing now.
Jack, you
I was on
on the board?
the same board with Mr. Peterson that's present tonight, and I think the same as what Mr. Dalzell said, that permanently, I think that should be done. I mean, right now, the dog officer control is leaving a note when he should be a one-on-one with a gentleman and letting him know, and I think this dog, you know, and I'm believing everything that Mr. Waddell says, so.
He's kind of a tough man to catch up with.
You know, it's been 5 years, and it's been going on from how long, Rick? This
Well, I
walking
mean, the
stuff?
last few incidents, the 4 incidents have probably been in the last 3 or 4 months. We never had any incidents since the original incident, other than just prior to the selectmen's meeting, the dog came across the property line and attacked our dog. You know, now it just seems like all of a sudden, it's like, well, all right, the restraint order is worn out, it's welcome, I'm just gonna do what I wanna do. And you know, I work around the clock. My wife works a full-time job, so we don't know what's going on all the time. I can tell you that Mr. Passanisi leaves for work about the same time I do in the morning. Normally, he's walking his dog before he leaves to work. Sometimes I leave early, depending on what my shift is, and those are the couple of times that I've seen him out there. He comes home sometimes late afternoon, 5, 6 o'clock, and he has a friend that either lives with him or comes by at noontime, from what I've seen on other occasions. I know on the days that I've been home, the dog is inside the house, barking nonstop. I mean, you know what? We're animal lovers. Nobody wins here either way. You feel bad for the dog, but, you know, I have my own animals that I have to protect. And, you know, my wife doesn't even want to deal with it anymore. And I'm just tired of, you know, playing by the rules and somebody doesn't.
Okay. Joe, you have anything to say?
I don't.
Bob?
Well, I mean, we have an order in place, and hopefully it's being taken care of. I mean, it should be following the order. There's nothing that I'm aware of that's changed that order. So hopefully, the order is being followed. And if it says it should be restrained when it's out loose, then it should be restrained.
My question then is, how, do I have to take a picture or something? I mean, because if Reed can't cite him without seeing it,
Well,
I mean,
I would ask Reed to up his vigilance
I
in
will.
the area, okay?
Maybe, I know I dropped a copy of the recent, the last week's thing, that maybe the Board of Selectmen, we should send him another letter, saying it's come to the attention of the board, may not work, but, that maybe, who knows?
It's right here in black and white, fourth paragraph. When the dog's taken off the premises, he shall be leashed
All
and
times.
under controls at all times.
That's what, when I gave him at the resident, I highlighted that in yellow, number 4.
Yes, Dave.
Yeah, Bob, Dave Peterson. It might be worthwhile at this point to see if the police department can send someone down and hook up with the owner of the dog. At that point, Reed can go down. That'll emphasize the importance of it and make sure he is handed a copy. And, I mean, obviously, all the people on the board at that time, we went through a great deal of issues in this particular case.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't settled
I remember.
to anybody's satisfaction, but as a result of what would have been a lengthy and expensive court process, this agreement was made, and we, at that time, expected it, as the order says, to live up to, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 15 years. So
Yeah, I think you're a good idea, Dave. I think it's, to have the order presented by a police officer and Reed to be also there. How's the board feel about that?
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
You want that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
I'll make that motion, that we have the letter drafted by the Board of Selectmen, delivered by member of the police department, personal, the
With
owner.
Reed in attendance.
With Reed.
And if,
When they go to contact Reed.
And also, Reed, I want you to, okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and Reed, I want you to, pick your vigilance up in that
Oh,
area.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've been taking past this road, I just never see, the dog myself, so.
Okay.
And if I can get pictures, gives me more proof, for running citations.
The dog is supposed to be, as, clearly stated, on number 4 on the order of agreement. It's supposed to be restrained in the fenced in area of the backyard, or when taken off the premises, is supposed to be leashed and under control at all times. So, that is part of the agreement that was made, so. All right,
I can give Reed the times that I know that he walks the dog, because they're pretty regular times when he leaves for work and then prior to leaving for work, those type of things. That's what he wants to,
okay.
because other than that, he works a full-time job like the rest of us, and he's gone all day.
Yeah, I think he works for the post office, I heard.
Okay, Mr. LaBelle, does that help?
We'll see,
Okay.
I mean, it's been 5 years and I haven't seen a problem, now all of a sudden we're seeing it, so,
Okay.
whether it's gonna be another 5 years, who knows, but it hasn't been an enjoyable 5 years, because I can tell you that there hasn't been a day that's gone by that we haven't walked out there and thought, maybe this is the time we're gonna see another dead goat, and, my wife, she's had enough of it, and she doesn't even wanna deal with it anymore, she'd rather just try to move on, but, you know what I do for work, and
Yeah, I know.
I'm about holding people accountable,
Yep.
so,
Okay.
appreciate it.
All right, so I hope that if there's any other problems for you, please
I will.
come back to us.
I will.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Reed.
Just take a picture.
I will.
Something happens there.
Okay. That takes care of general business number 2. Okay, it is now 7:25. We're a little bit running behind here tonight. We have a joint meeting with the Personnel Board, and with that, I am, as Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I am a member of the Personnel Board, so I am gonna have to go into the audience here and sit next to Dave Peterson, who is the Chairman of the Personnel Board. So, with that, we'll relinquish the chair to Mr. Murray.
Thank you, sir.
sit in front, Bob, give him a photo.
Yeah, but anybody see my ball spot from here?
Don't worry, it won't affect you between this guy's a lot of there.
As the chairman has announced, it's a little bit after the meeting time, which is 7:15. But it's with the Personnel Board to discuss personnel policy study. I call for a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Personnel Board to order by a roll call vote. I need a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to open a joint meeting with the Personnel Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Need a roll call. Jack Cook.
Yep.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Robert Murray.
I, Stu Delzo.
Robert Snow.
I, Dave Peterson.
Okay. Declare the meeting open. I'll call upon the Personnel Board member Dave Peterson to discuss the implementation of the personnel study for non-union employees. Dave will lead a discussion on the implement of the personnel study in fiscal year 14 for non-union employees. The Personnel Board has calculated a cost out of all the non-union employees, and we are estimating the implementation cost at approximately $92,000. You want to give us a talk on that, Dave?
Yes, we hired the consultant quite a ways back. 2 weeks ago I was in, and we discussed briefly that the consultant had returned with recommendations, basically showing that there was a wide disparity in what our town employees were making in many cases as compared to the average of surrounding towns and towns of similar size. So when she brought the study back, we, from the Personnel Board, took it under advisement, and we've spent many, many hours, and especially Ms. Egan, the town administrator and the town personnel officer, spearheading the project, with a lot of assistance from Bob and I, to determine, to take the study, which we did, and kind of work it into something that would fit into what the town of Raleigh can afford. Because when we get into pay raise issues, as we know, and we can see by the $92,000 figure here, we are behind. Town employees in general are behind. So we need to rectify that. So what we've done is we've gone through and taken all the, at this point, we've taken all the non-union employees, because the union employees are all covered by a union contract, so we don't have any authority over what their pay rates are. Those are negotiated by the Board of Selectmen, ultimately to be voted by the taxpayers. But what we've done is we've taken all the non-union positions, including some of the elected positions, which is a recommendation because we don't really have control over the elected positions either, but it's a recommendation to bring those in line. And management positions and a lot of secretaries or positions that aren't unionized. And we've come up with that $92,000 figure. Now, the problem here is because of the disparity over the years, we've increased selected positions pays as the squeaky wheel gets the grease type situation when specific employees or departments came in and said this particular employee is underpaid. Well, we've examined that and re-examined the position and a number of cases raised that pay on an individual basis. So what this study did is basically had an outside person come in, look at everything with a disinterested hand and compared us with everybody else, and so that there's, we're not giving a 2.5 raise across the board. I mean, there's some people are getting a fairly sizable raise, other people are getting smaller raises in an attempt to equalize out what the value of the positions are with other employees in town, as well as what we're paying versus what other towns are paying. So at this point, what we're asking for is any questions you people have, number one. But number two is we're looking for approximately a $92,000. Debbie assures me or us that should cover for the town meeting, because what we'd like to do is implement once you approve it, is implement this part of the plan for the non-union employees. This way here, it's getting tight, but she'll be able to put these figures into the town meeting warrant so that the raise would be effective July 1st. And at least, I don't know if the unions are going to be ready or not, I'm not involved in that, but at least it gets the non-union employees a raise as of July 1st based on this study and the results we've come up with, and that we hope you will vote on. And then, you know, if there's a fall town meeting, if unions settle or whatever, then we can go forward at that time. In addition to that, none of the affected employees, obviously, at this point have been told what the new pay rates are gonna be. So
That's right.
rather than sit here tonight and give you a list of what everybody's position is and who's getting what we, and Ms. Egan really come up with the idea that if you people vote the total figure tonight, she is gonna hand each department head the next day or two a copy of the affected employees within the department. The department head can sit down and tell the employee what they're gonna make for the new salary.
Okay.
And Debbie and I will make ourselves available for some people. I mean, nobody's ever happy with how much money they make anyway, but this is based on a you know, outside study, so it's no big year based on personalities or any of those kinds of things. But Debbie and I will be available to sit down with individual employees who feel that they aren't being properly compensated. We're not making any promises, obviously, but at this point, probably whatever you people vote will be the salary as of July 1st. And if we have to make some amends, we could have made a mistake or two, too. We're dealing with lots of numbers and lots of names. So that's basically where it stands. We're just looking for you people to authorize us to go forward and notify the employees of what their non-union employees, what their raises would be. And then we'll put that money would be put in the budget, assuming that you people voted in.
Okay, because actually what we've done with the, all of the town departments is we've level funded salary at this point because we were working on this study. And we wanted to get the results of that before we actually tried to do something with it. It sounds like you guys have been working overtime here, getting this done, so.
Well, Debbie has, for sure.
Well, I'm sure you guys have put in some time too, so, you know, to get the rest of the board. And as the Board of Selectmen member, I appreciate that. And I guess I've always said, people have heard me say it before, that one of our most valuable assets in this community are our town employees and committees and volunteers. So if there's a way for us to keep those people here.
Just as an aside, Bob, the other day in the Newburyport News, there was an article regarding the Selectmen's meeting in Merrimack, and they had a similar study done, and they're finding the same problem.
Same issue, yes, I saw
They're
that.
voting money the same for the same reason, because
Yeah.
they're gonna lose people, and we all know how hard our town employees work. And most of them are most offices are understaffed. We have one of the smallest ratios of employees per population.
Yes.
So that they certainly deserve more money, and this raise July 1st, if you vote it, is not gonna bring them up where they should be. It implements a plan which you've got there, a 5-year step raise of 1.25% per year, and then it can be adjusted in addition to that with a COLA. But at least it starts us on the roll of putting everybody on the step system. It equalizes out people who are doing the same job, will end up ultimately getting the same pay at the end of the 5-year period.
And
So it's an overall good thing, and other towns are doing the same thing, and it's something we really need to do with it. Assuming the town has the money this year to implement it, our recommendation is that you vote this
And
recommendation.
it's been a long time coming, Dave, as you well know. And as my friend, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen says, we've been running a lean and mean operation here for a long, long time. And if we can help these people out a little bit more to keep them here, then I, as one selectman, think we should implement it. So,
Just to add to what Dave said, I concur with, everything that Dave said. And when it comes to retention, if you lose somebody when you from a specific job category, and now you go out and look for a person that's specific, you're going to have to pay the new rate, the higher rate anyways. Now, if you lose that person, you've lost all that history, that historical data that they have about the town, and you're behind the 8 ball at that point. So
you have to start from scratch. Yeah.
So.
Okay. So, I think the board will need to vote to accept the recommendations to fund the non-union salary and wage budgets to include the personnel board's wage adjustments in the fiscal 14 budget lines. And if we approve this recommendation, Debbie will distribute the revised fiscal 14 wage and salary budget lines to the department heads, both Dave and Debbie, will be available during this week to discuss adjustments with department heads. In the meantime, the Personnel Board is working on proposals to unions on the implementation of the personnel study. Is there any discussion from the board?
No, I think it's a good start here. I mean, we're way behind, and to keep some of our very good help in place and not wandering off is it's a good start. I mean, to implement the increase starting July 1 to a big asset for the town. I support it.
Okay, anything to say, Joe?
I agree with Mr. Cook, and I agree with what you said, that we do need to support our town employees and to do what we can to keep them on the job, give them a fair wage. And I think this is overdue, but it is the best we can do for right now.
Sue, anything?
I think, excuse me, I think it's important. Mr. Peterson said, just for example, if you have two secretaries doing the same, basically the same job, they should be getting
Equal pay.
equal pay,
I agree.
fair across the board.
Okay. Deb, is there anything else that you need to add? Or?
I think that covers it for the motion
Okay.
in order to proceed.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'll call for a motion to make the recommendation of the Personnel Board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Roll call.
Aye, Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Bob Mary.
I Stu Delzell.
Anybody opposed? I don't think so. Everybody voted yes. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
We'll go
I
forward
would
from
like
there.
to say, Mr. Murray, they put a lot of effort
Oh, I know
to do
they did.
this and
I know
calculate.
They won't accept the compliment,
Well,
but I know they put a lot of work into it.
Deborah and Bob.
Yes.
Dave,
Yep.
We appreciate your efforts.
appreciate that, the effort.
Thank Debbie. Debbie did
Yes, you did.
a great job.
And Debbie's staff.
There's
Debbie,
always
yes, Debbie's
Debbie.
staff also. Thank you, Amy and Doreen.
Yeah,
You do anything without
Yeah, I
them?
can't leave them out.
No.
that works very well when they work together.
Good team.
Okay, no further business coming before the board with the Personnel Board. I'll entertain a motion to move on to the next agenda item. We can close the,
Close the,
I'll make a
The joint
motion
meeting?
that we close the joint meeting with the Personnel Board.
I'll second that.
second. Motion made and seconded by roll call vote. to close the Personnel Board.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Bob Mary.
I Stu Delzell.
I don't know, Snow.
Dave Peterson.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can go back to my day job?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
I just have to say, sitting over there, what a handsome board this is without me.
Where? All our bald heads?
That's the pressure from the job.
All right. Okay, it is almost 7:40, and let me see, I have to go into my appointment folder here. Okay. Okay. We're supposed to do this at 7:30, but it's 7:40. I have a liquor license application, the B.L. Page Raleigh Country Club. I'll read the notice first. No, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 138 of Massachusetts General Laws as amended, that the Raleigh Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing to be held on Monday, March 18, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. in the Raleigh Town Hall, 139 Main Street, Raleigh, Massachusetts, upon application of B.L. Page, LLC, Raleigh Country Club Principal Burton H. Page, on an application for a seasonal wine and malt restaurant license. Business is located at 235 Dodge Road, consisting of a clubhouse and a bar on the main levels, seating 24 persons. Anyone wishing to comment should attend this hearing. Written comments will be accepted. Robert Snow, Chairman, Raleigh Board of Selectmen. I have it here, was published in the newspaper. Okay.
April 1st. It was published April 1st.
April 1st, okay. So, I'll call for motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor? For the roll call vote?
I, Stu Delzo.
Aye, Robert Mary.
Hi, Jack Cook.
Joe Perry.
Robert Snow. Okay. I'll call for the applicant,
Burton
Burton
Page.
H. Page,
Correct.
for to ask to provide an overview of the plans to open the Raleigh Country Club. So,
Okay,
Mr. Page, I'm sorry.
We've been there for 3 years, working on the golf course at Lucy. We had Mitch's Restaurant there. Mitch's is no longer there. There is construction going on to build a nice housing development in that property. The golf course will remain as is for itself. It will be done. Golfers sometimes like to have a beer when they get through. We're only looking to do a limited beer and wine service for them. It's not considered a bar, it's just gonna be a counter service. You're gonna take your drink and sit at a little table and stuff like this. There won't be any bar stools or anything like that. We're looking for limited hours, and again, we're seasonal, assuming April 1st to the end of November.
Okay.
I believe that is the time frame that they mostly are. I personally have been in the business for a long time, 50-plus years, run golf course bars and stuff like this. I can say that I have 100% perfect record, never had an OUI against me. All my employees will be quote-unquote tips trained.
Okay.
They'll be doing this. We'll be serving limited food there, hot dogs, some sandwiches, stuff like this, but nothing for restaurant-style things. So we do have a lot of groups that come in, and they get to gather when they get through, or leagues when they get through, they gather. And we are guaranteed, with making sure of the neighbors, that we will then have last call no later than 9 o'clock at night. There's only one thing, it's it's BH Page LLC, not BL, the typo in there, so.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
goes my name, what can I say? I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has anything. We are professionals, we do this, we've done this forever and ever. Again, I hold one down in Saugus, and I've worked at the Hillview Country Club for 25 years
Okay.
with liquor licenses, so I'm very familiar with what goes on, and I can say we are perfect the way we operate. We do not let anybody get into a problem. We'll not allow excess noise out there. We'll keep it very, very well under control.
The Saugus Golf Club, the one.
Cedar Glen.
Cedar Glen. Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Nice little 9-hole.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rowley's better than 9 holes, to be honest. For the players. What can I say?
Okay, any questions
Any
from the board?
questions?
No, I think we had some questions here, and it looks like he's answered them in an email
Mhm.
of March 14th.
How many houses go in there? Excuse me? How many houses go in there? I believe it's 34, 36, 36.
36 duplexes?
No, yes, duplexes. You know better than I do. I'm the golf fan, so. That's been approved by the planning board, I believe, and they've already started construction out there. Such and such. The building is just, you cannot believe what has happened to the building. It's now been expanded. It's really gonna be wonderful. It's technically a clubhouse, so people can go in there to see. The outside's all been redone. It's a first-class situation that they've already started to work on, and we assume that the others, and hopefully that the people that move in there now have a golf course they come out and play. We're gonna welcome them, so.
So you're gonna have a maximum capacity of 12?
Yeah, we're only bringing in technically 4 high tops with 4 seats around it,
Okay.
and they can go out on the deck and sit like that, so that should be no more than 12. So,
How big's the deck on the back?
about the size of this room?
No,
Yeah, about the
I'll
size
say
of this
big.
room.
Excuse me?
I'll say big, considering it's in my backyard.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, we're in a public hearing,
Yes.
so we need to have everyone's name identified, please, and
Okay.
questions directed to you.
Is there any questions from anybody in the audience? Just identify yourself.
Sure. My name's Chris Thornton. I live at 65 Emily Lane, and we're a direct abutter of the property.
Okay.
I just have a question. Was the
Sure.
golf course previously managed along with the back nine, or were they separate businesses?
separate businesses. To
Separate
my
businesses.
knowledge is when Mitch was there, I came on when Windover did it for 2
Right.
years, and then they leased it off to me, so.
So the business that you have been managing for the last 3
For
years
3
hasn't
years,
had a liquor license
No, it
associated
has
with it
not.
previously?
Correct.
All right. You mentioned, the desire to have large groups come by and celebrate their winners of that particular day's tournament. Those are the crowds that, that as somebody directly affected by it, that I frankly don't want to see, because they're in my backyard and literally we're right on top of it. Now, when it was over at the back nine, we frankly didn't really have any issue with it, but we did know when there was a tournament going on and when there was a event going on. I think now you're putting it right in the backyard of a couple of people that were previously, unaffected by it because it was a good distance away, and now we're right on top of it. It seems to me like, the people that come and play 9 holes of golf can come and go, and they don't necessarily need to have a couple of beers, although, I'm not opposed to that sort of thing, but
Yes, you are in this case.
Now, how far are you from
I'm Nicole Thornton.
Nicole?
we rebut the first tee.
I did a rough measure from our property line to the corner of the deck, and it's less than 75 feet from our property line.
Yeah, 75.
We live on a little less than an acre of land, so our house from to that, it's literally in our backyard. It's a long lot, it's not a deep lot.
It's not the first house on the corner there, is
No.
It's the second,
It's second house down on the
That's
left-hand
right.
side?
So we're right at the first tee.
Okay.
Our backyard is the first tee.
Right.
We frequently have golfers in our yard looking for their balls, which, we live at, the golf course has always been there. That's something we accept. But I have 3 small children, and now there's going to be groups of people sitting out there drinking beer all afternoon, all summer long, where my children play, where we have a a swing set, a swimming pool. It's, quite frankly, it's not something I want in my backyard. And I don't think that it's fair to expect that, when we moved here, the development was much, the clubhouse, so to speak, was much further away from that spot. Additionally, I believe that the warrant said that there would be 24 seats, and that's what the warrant, or the,
It is in here, 24.
and
Yeah.
he just said 12.
24.
So.
Oh, it's
Sometimes
12
it's
here and
saying
12
foot-
outside.
foot
But
size.
another issue I have is that in the planning board notes, they have approval to increase the clubhouse by 75%
Sorry, I didn't tell you.
within the next 2 years. So,
think that's-
or at some point, if they so choose. So now, what was a small little pro shop has an expanded roof line on it, which has more than, I would say at least double the size of it from our view
Footprint, yeah.
in the footprint. And then they have within there the right to expand it even more and to make it a function hall if someday that becomes an 18-hole golf course, or if they decide that that's the direction they want to go. Another concern of mine is if the golf course ever closes, it will become open space for the town, but that building will still be there, and potentially it will become a restaurant, a permanent restaurant in our backyard. Those are, another thing is that according to the state liquor laws, a seasonal license goes until January 15th. He says that he will, that's what I read online.
Okay.
April
I've held 2 of them, and they end November 30th, so that's the board's timing, that they set the
So I
time for
guess
it,
that
so.
we could look into that as well. 9 PM, I'm assuming, I don't know if there's anything else
Can
that
I-
I have to really say. When we stand in our living room, I can see that back deck.
More so now that the
People
trees are
will be
down, but
sitting.
that's just, we understand that there's a special permit to allow that to happen, but it certainly has opened it up quite a bit as we look out.
It is the same size deck, it has not changed, they put a roof on it,
The-
so,
Well,
that's
the
all.
roof, in
Well,
effect,
it's
makes
just-
it twice the size, so.
Yeah.
As I remember,
Not-
the clubhouse, there was a Coke machine on the back
Yes,
Yes.
at one time,
Right.
yes.
and it was
And-
pretty well lit.
And I called I
Okay.
complained to have them
And they
shut.
took
We
care
can
of it.
see the Coke machine
Yes.
It's not there, it's
until I
gone.
called
I
and said.
was riding with the building inspector that day.
I wrote an email, yeah, I sent an email on that.
And that's the last time we've had any issue with the
That's
board.
the last time we had any issues.
But the one thing I would say is, you know, obviously, when the special permit was awarded, it was based on, you know, the finding that there was no adverse impact on to the adjacent neighborhood. And I think this calls that question into scrutiny again, whether this decision to allow a building, pardon me, an alcohol license does have any adverse impact on the adjacent neighborhood, given that it is a different business. In fact, the business has never held a liquor license in this town. And I think the relocation of that concession does, you know, call into question the board to determine whether they think it does have an adverse impact. And we think it does.
We think it does. I think that it's gonna drastically affect my property value. I mean, if there's a bar in my backyard. I know you didn't call it a bar, but it's
not a bar.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Or comments?
What would be the distance from your house? There is a big tree line there, isn't there?
No, there's,
Well, it's pretty thin, but I understand
Yeah.
there's
You know
probably
the
25
Murtagh-
feet from the from
Mr.
where our
Murtagh
yard
lives.
excuse me.
Where tag?
Murtagh, yes, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
she's the
Cheryl.
one with the parallel
right,
wall
right.
Yeah,
that runs up. I think practically her garage would probably be less than 100 feet
Yeah,
to the middle of that
yeah,
dwelling.
absolutely.
correct.
With it. And yeah, how far up further
we're
would
probably
you?
know
Yeah,
30
the
feet from
second
Cheryl's
one up.
backyard, and then our yard starts. There's a house that's tucked in there with a little bit of space, but they really don't have any. They haven't cleared it out that far.
But we're the only two abutters on the property of the golf course.
Oh, is that
and
right? Okay.
We are,
Murtagh and,
And us.
and you?
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
on that first whole section.
Right.
Where the
The one that I see the truck parked there, it says the rock crusher.
Yeah, he doesn't have backyard.
Okay, I thought he did, but you're right. He's on the corner, not affected. That's not us. We're one up.
Yeah, just beyond him, sets back a little bit.
Yeah, on the hill.
Yeah.
I would invite anyone to come into our yard, into our living room. and
What would you
see-
say the approximate yardage would be from your boundary marker down to the dwelling?
To the,
Couple
our
of hundred
house
yards?
or?
Yardage, you know, maybe 50.
Not the house, the
Yeah, from the back
exact-
corner, we have a white fence that's
Right.
cornered off in the back corner there. It's, you know, I'd be surprised if it was 25 or 30 yards from the back corner of that fence to the corner of the deck that they've
75
extended.
feet.
To their dwelling, that's being,
Yeah.
okay.
Joe?
He-
Stu?
Mr. Page,
Yes.
would you be willing to put a row of evergreens up near the property line, the boundary line? for
I
these folks?
will talk to the owners, I don't think there's a problem on that, on the other side of the tee area to significantly take any view level of this coming in. This deck has been there, there's been socializing out there, we've had groups out there, we've done them in the past, and no one has ever said anything to us, there was never a complaint that was ever brought forward to
There's
me.
never been a
Lisa.
table out there.
Yeah.
There's been tables, there's 5 or 6 tables
But
out
there's
there.
no reason to sit out there. There
Well,
was,
they get together, and this is what they do, and the leagues, when they come in, they go in, they sign up. We do junior programs, and all the junior programs are out there, and all the juniors will come in and have lunch out there, too. So we've been doing, there's been an active area as such. I'm not saying that, please, I'm not trying to chat that, I like my
Well,
neighbors, so.
No, I mean, we don't want to necessarily
Yeah,
be
that's right.
confrontational about it either. I think, though, that when there's larger gatherings, they more regularly took place at the putting green back behind the back nine.
Oh.
You know, that's where certainly it seemed like the noise would come from when there was a
and
gathering.
it is noisy, but we realize we live with a golf course in our backyard.
It sounds
You
like
know, I
Augusta
mean,
in the summertime. It's not bad, but it's not
You know, another concern I have is whether, what the restrictions would be placed on it. I mean, I would urge you to please say that it shouldn't happen. There are plenty of golf courses in the area that have, that don't serve alcohol in a 9-hole golf course. It's an in-out place, and
It's not a private club.
it's not a private club. It's a public golf course. In Topsfield, there's a golf course. You know, if you look around the area, there's plenty of golf courses that don't serve alcohol. I also think it's a public safety issue. We've had break-ins in our yard, you know, in the past. People are gonna be sitting there and looking in our backyard and at our house. You know, it's not like they're there to play golf and move on. Now they're gonna be sitting around, hanging out and talking, and I don't necessarily think that that's a safe environment for my family or my children.
You've had break-ins?
We had a car broken into, and our neighbor, the rock crusher, had his house broken into. So,
The other thing is there any proposed houses going near that side? I don't know the
We're all on
layout.
the other side.
It's all onto
Yeah, they
the
start,
left
where
of the.
Mitch's
the-
was, that's where
right,
the,
all the left of
that
that?
starts from there, yes.
Okay.
In other words, the housing will come that close. So we are very conscious and very, very concerned of making sure that this is why we're looking for limited beer and wine, very level. It is part of the business. And she says she's fine. I don't know any other than the one on Route 1. There are no other golfers I know that don't have liquor. So, and it is important. A guy goes out, he finishes playing golf, he wants to have his beer with his friend, and this, that, and the other. We have been responsible and have, as I say, Cedar Glen's in a neighborhood closer than that one, and we've never had a complaint, and I won't allow people to get loud and stuff like this. This is, you could mandatory that to me, I will not let this happen. We very, very concerned in keeping everybody on our side. We want this. That's why the building has been remodeled. You can't believe how beautiful it is now compared to what it was over there now. And that is important because we want to build up the light of the area. The housing's going in, they want to look at a nice place there too. And we think that to make a successful golf course, and this is what I'm there to do, I need a little extra. We do have groups that come in. Most of the groups are gone they're off the course by dark, so most of them are gone. And I believe that you'd find that with my control and my expertise in this business, that I think that we will make it happy for you. I hope. I don't want to see anybody else happy.
Is there Section 8 housing going in there?
I'm not up on the housing. I'm only doing the golf course. I'm sorry. I don't believe there is.
No.
No.
Bob, do anything?
I noticed that the hours you have listed here
Yep.
is when the course opens. Do we know what time the course opens?
Well, we open around 6 o'clock, but I'm not serving beer at 6 o'clock.
Well, that's what I was concerned of.
No.
Is
We,
that-
we, most of the liquor licenses we're involved in, they start at 11 o'clock in that range, so we're going to serve coffee at 6 o'clock, so
Okay, so you'd be open to 11 o'clock?
probably 11 to 9 at night, yes.
Would that be satisfactory?
Well, the one thing I do have, in a broader context, I wanted to make one other point, if I may. I was here 2006 when the open space residential development bylaw was amended to allow a golf course to be considered the passive use necessary to justify the set aside of the open space. And now we're talking about, which kind of stretched the understanding of what open space passive use is. It wasn't a prairie, it wasn't a pasture, it was a golf course with golf carts. And now we're talking about golf carts with, with beer on the golf course and people coming and going to buy beer on the golf course, on the open space area that justified this residential development that's going in. I mean, I think the closer you can keep it to a passive use, the more in harmony with the objective of that bylaw.
No beer wagons. There won't be any out there. Part of, and I believe that as I get familiar with probably the biggest one that started this thing back is the Thompson Club in North Reading, where the open space is the golf course, and because they have all their funnels around it, and you have to have X amount of acreage to do a building of a house and stuff like this. The golf course has been there. They've had liquor. 40 plus years.
One on North Main Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For at least 40 years, there's been liquor going on out there, and they were serving beer out on the golf course. I won't. We don't have beer carts, and we're not allowed beer carts out there. In fact, we don't condone it all, and we tell everybody they can't go. He's not allowed to take beers out there. So we work very hard to control the alcohol content and what goes on. And when I say this, and I don't know if everybody's been 50 years in the liquor business, not one OUI. OUI means that they left my place and they got risked of being drunk. Not one. And I have had a lot, I've stopped cars, I've done everything to make sure that the people are controlled that are in my building. And we have what we call tips training. All my employees will be tips trained, which means they're trained to watch for alcohol and watch for somebody, making sure they're not driving, they're not inconsistent with what we accept for normal people. So I guess I can't preach any harder than that, so.
When you went before the planning board, correct?
Oh, no, actually, I was at that bylaw meeting a long time ago, but no, we didn't really have,
We weren't, we
we-
actually
we-
didn't even know that this development was being voted on, and it was, so.
there's been so much over the last 6 years that was in flux that we allowed it to get out of our sight. We didn't pay,
I actually did go to the walkthrough with the planning board, which we were not allowed on the golf course because I had my children with me, and they told me that they wouldn't allow us legally to go on the golf course with our children. But when we spoke at that time, I was told that it would not be expanded, and that it would remain the same, and that it would be a snack bar. And, every other meeting I went to, that's how it was proposed. Additionally, in terms of when the golf course is open, I know from talking to another neighbor of ours who's been very involved in going to the planning meetings, that at one point, part of this write-up is that when the golf course is closed, neighbors can walk through the golf course. And when asked, well, when, is that November 1st? Is it January 1st? When does the golf course close? And they said, we won't give you a date because it's weather pending. So to say it's only going until November, I mean, it could potentially be extended, for longer.
That's your rule.
So, now there's this fuzzy line as when is the golf course open and closed. I know that my husband and I on New Year's Day went to walk the golf course like we have been for the last 10 years. And we were kicked off of the golf course and told that it was open and that we weren't to be walking on the golf course. This is before it took over hands, but it was under your management.
Part of it is it's a liability situation. You step in the hole, we're responsible. If the golf course is out there, somebody hits an erroneous ball and hits you. If there are players on the golf course, it's not.
It was 10 degrees outside.
Well, it's as long as we were in the shop, then we were open, I guess. That's what they. When we talk about getting this license from April 1st through the end of you guys will specify when it is. And then, I'm not looking to run this thing, and you can specify the hours for me. So it's your license that you can tell me what to do. So I'm willing to work within your guidelines. So it's not my guidelines, and I'm not trying to request more than it is. And then we definitely don't want to sit up there in November and sell beers and stuff like this. We're not looking to do that. It's just this is part of the business, and in a golf business, especially, we have members. We're not a public golf course totally. We have about 50 members. And these members come in and they want to be members because they need a full atmosphere that's there. And they had it with Mitch's. God bless, Mitch's is gone. That was part of it. But then there's been, as I say, beer carts out there before we came. So we know that there's a lot of alcohol going on. One thing that we've done, we have agreed, and I guess this was part of the planning board's agreement, that when the course closes for the season, the course is there until we open for the season. You go out there now, it's snow and stuff, so,
But
we
there's
were
no
still
date
open.
for when it closes, so.
We don't know.
So we
And
don't
that's
know
why they're
when we'll
permitted.
pick-
I agree to that, yeah.
Additionally, this is not, a club benefit of having a bar in the thing. If it was, it would be a private club. And then there'd be a whole different slew of regulations in terms of who would be allowed to drink in the club. This is a public golf course. Whether or not someone has a membership for the year, it's not a club. It's a golf course, a public golf course. It's not a club. There's big differences, on a lot of different levels. So I think that's important to know.
The Board of Selectmen here will control the hours and the dates of a license. I take it you have an open area between the back of your house and the
actually,
the clubhouse. I'll call it that.
It's not so much an open area because we do have a fence, but the fence, our yard is tiered and it comes down, the fenced-in area is down below, the higher area, actually where there is no fence, so you can see right into the golf course, and that fence only isn't a complete buffer between our property and theirs.
So you have do you have a deck on the back of your
We do,
house?
yeah.
And that
Very-
overlooks?
Very expensive deck, yes.
It overlooks
It does overlook, and that sits up on the higher area where the house sits. So it is, you look down into the yard and you can see out over the fence and right into literally right on top of the deck now. Because some of the clearing they did took down where shading had been there.
Another concern of mine is that if this were to expand, this is the point where there's a point of no return. This is it, Next thing you know, there's gonna be weddings going on in our backyard. That's my fear.
That would be controlled by
By
this
them.
board. By this board, we would control that.
Right, but
Okay,
according to the planning board, they're allowed to expand the size of, the area, and so.
I think on that basis, the contractor has spent $250,000, he's done it. What it is, and that it's not gonna get any
But
bigger.
that's not according to the legal documentation, and he
I don't
is one,
disagree with you.
let me tell you that that builder is documented everything he wanted in there for a purpose. And the minute I didn't go to a meeting, many other things happened in the process, so, forgive me, I
Yep.
feel like I was naive in thinking that, oh, good, I went to these meetings and this is what we're going to have, and I'm fine with it. But if you didn't go to every single meeting and then they voted on it and boom, it's done,
When did you move in to?
We moved in 2004.
2004. So you were there originally when the original plans, I was on
When the O'Neill
planning-
family still owned the
I was
club.
on the planning board at that particular time. We had all the walkthroughs
Yeah.
of the property.
Yep.
Yeah,
And in
yeah.
fact, I had that developer in my backyard at certain points because they were talking about making a pathway for the open space along our property.
That's
line.
right, right along the property line
Right.
out to where the bridge was.
That's right, that's why we put the fence in.
Yeah, there was no more golf, the golf course is gone then, with that development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, gentlemen,
I'd like to suggest you make a site visit.
how's the board feel?
I think that might be a good idea.
Bob?
Yeah, I think it would be kind of nice to take a look and see what's there. And we also, as part of the process, need to read the comments from the departments.
Okay.
I think that would, is a good idea what Mr. Selectman Dalzell said. What I'm reading here too, we had the public health agent, we had the building inspector, we had the fire chief, you had the police chief, all give their response. And it's gonna be a tough decision, but it's still,
Just,
I would like to see the whole layout myself up there first before we do
I just want to read into the record, okay? This is from a Health and Services Coordinator, Frank Mangiani. Discussions with the applicant and the building inspector indicate there will be no bar to serve beer. There will be no bar to serve beer and wine. There is no dishwasher or three-bay sink. Therefore, only disposable single glasses, dishes, and utensils will be used. A hand wash sink will be installed in the area where serving will take place to provide proper hand washing. If above information is correct, the health department does not have any additional comments. Okay, fire chief. Okay, let me see. Amy, sorry for the delay. I have reviewed the application and have had a site visit to the clubhouse to inspect the rough wiring of fire alarm system. At this time, I do not have any concerns with the application. I will conduct a final inspection of the premises with the building inspector when all work is completed. All right. Please, Chief. Hi, Amy. I have reviewed the application, have no objections or concerns. The Raleigh Country Club previously operated a restaurant on the premises which include a full liquor license and no significant issues arose. This application appears to be for a similar use, except there will be no function hall. Therefore, I don't foresee any issues arising from the granting of this permit. Police Chief, Building Inspector, Amy, I have no concerns with this application. Okay. Well, the board wishes to have a site visit. Okay, so we'll leave the hearing open, and we will have a site visit sometime during the week, and we will.
Tough getting in there, so we had a lot of big trucks running around in there.
Okay, so we will come back and visit this next week. Okay, Debbie, can you put this on the agenda for next week?
So am I to understand, Mr. Chairman, that the board members here individually will go and walk the site?
Yes, instead of going as a group, because I don't think we can all get there as a group, so. So if we go, we'll go two at a time or one at a time, okay, to do a site visit.
Feel
we
free
go
to
to your
feel free to
house?
access our yard at 65 Emily Lane if it would help.
65 Emily, okay.
Okay.
So we will go out.
65. 65.
What is it?
65 Emily?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, and then we will make a decision, next week.
Thank you.
At the
We
board.
appreciate your time.
And so, we're not making a promise, we'll go
No, certainly.
make a
Understand.
site visit and make a determination.
Thank you.
Okay?
We'll get this storm out of the way a little later in the week.
Yeah, please, another one.
Is there any good time that you people are home, supper
I'm
time?
home all day.
All day.
So, with that, I'll leave the hearing open, and we will come back and visit this next week. At what time?
Well, the board will need to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to continue the hearing to March 25th at 7:30 PM.
Could I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Have a second? All those in
Continue the
favor?
hearing to March
25th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we will come back and visit this next week at what time again?
7:30, is that?
7:30. All right?
Thank you.
Sound
Yeah.
good?
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Before you bring up the water department for a budget, I'd like to speak for a few minutes regarding the water department.
Actually, we need to bring them in, I think.
Yeah, and just our really our our citizen query is really over at this time, so really can't ask a question at this particular time. Plus, the water department will be coming in shortly. Okay, they could do wait, Vinny.
Excuse me?
Could you wait until that particular time until they come in?
What time will that be?
They'll be 7:45. They're supposed to be. We're a little bit running late tonight, so.
Okay.
Well,
Will I be able
he could discuss.
He can just.
He can discuss
I
budget.
only need a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
you
coming in
can't
on
go,
Wednesday night before the finance committee, so they'll be
Well,
before
this
you.
isn't a budgetary thing that I'd be talking about.
Well, that would have to be.
Excuse me?
I don't think we could accept him.
No,
You can talk the budget, but if we're talking other stuff,
I don't know.
I don't think it would be allowed.
no.
Not on the agenda. I mean, if
When
we-
could I?
Well, we had citizen query earlier, so that would have been
You
the
were-
time
when
to
you
ask
came
the
in, you
questions,
put
7:05 to 7:15.
So could I do it at the next
Mr. Burton,
meeting?
thank you.
Yeah.
Could I
Yes.
do it at the next
Thank you. We
meeting?
don't want
Right.
to, if you wish
No,
to
I'm
stay.
waiting for the fiscal year water budget since I
Oh,
asked
okay.
for it
All
almost a
right.
year ago and haven't gotten it.
We do that at the beginning of every meeting at 7:05
do?
and 7:50.
Yeah, we have the query
I
session
was
between
promised an
7:05
email
and
several
7:15.
times.
So anybody can come in, make it, and, ask a question. We can't make a comment on that particular time. So, anyways, we're moving on to 7, again, I apologize for being late, we're a half hour late, and we have the,
Next Monday?
Right.
yeah,
Okay,
next
thank
Monday.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that. John, Laura, you want to come up? Tim, you want to come up front too?
With the John's, like, John, where's your glasses?
Okay, I apologize for being late. One of those evenings. Okay, and a lot on the agenda. Okay, the Water Board, Commissioner Tim Toomey, Acting Superintendent Laura Hamilton, to discuss, and John Rizzo, to discuss the Superintendent FY14 budget. The fiscal team, Selectman Snow, Selectman Murray, met with Tim Toomey and Laura Hamilton last week. This was a very good meeting, and we spent several hours going over the water department budget. As I stated last week, I will only recommend a budget to the townspeople in which I know where every penny is going. Under the state law, Chapter 44, Section 53, F, 1.5, the Board of Selectmen is responsible for recommending the water department's budget to the town meeting. The Board of Selectmen will only support a transparent budget to the town meeting. We've broken out some of the expenses. They have been historically included in the maintenance and expense line and have been given them their own budget lines. We also carefully reviewed every expense that is included in the maintenance and expense budget. We thoroughly examined each sub-budget line and expense to make sure that there was enough data to back up those numbers. We focused on how we can get the operating expenses down in the department. Form 1, line number 4. We have a new line, overtime line. We've broken out the wages into the baseline wages in overtime. Now we can track how much is spent on overtime. Line 7, maintenance. This is the expense line for the water department. We have worked to reduce this line. We will review the expense breakout on form number 5 after we have completed review on form number 1. Line 8, engineering slash operational labor. This line is for the various consulting engineering that the water department needs to use for various projects. Tim or Laura can provide examples when they need to utilize these services. Form 1, new treatment plant expenses, fees and bond counsel for a total of $713,134. Karen Summer can explain the breakout of this principal and interest payment. Form 3. Form 3 lists all the items that the enterprise fund reimburses the general fund for. The part of the enterprise fund is listed in article number 7 of the warrant. Form 4. Form 4 is the wage calculation breakout. We need to make some changes to this page. Form 5. Form 5 shows the breakout of the water department expenses into 38 sub-budget lines. The fiscal team went line by line through this budget. We were able to reduce many of the budget lines. If the water department could spend at least $40,000 at the expense line for the building inside the garage, then we knew there was areas that we could cut. We think that we've been able to present a realistic budget for FY13. Form 5 also shows the breakout of the cost to run the new treatment plant for 4 months. We want these expenses shown separately. Appendix A. Appendix A shows the proposed capital plan. Water rate report. The water board has approved and proposed water rates for FY14. The fiscal team discussed the possibility of having the water rate broken out so that the people could see the amount of the rate for the new treatment plant. Line 9 and 10. There are approximately 4 months in fiscal 2014 in which the treatment plant will be in full operation. We have presented these costs separately. Tim and Laura can provide examples of line number 9 and 10 will be used for. Line 11, capital plan program. The water department budget needs to have a budget line that is clearly dedicated to capital improvements. The fiscal team and the auditors recommended that we establish and fund a capital budget line. We should not be funding capital improvements out of the maintenance and expense line. Because the infrastructure depreciates over time, the water department continuously needs to replace things such as water mains, hydrants, etc. Line 12, emergency operation and maintenance reserve. This is a new budget line. We are creating a reserve fund for the water department budget, similar to the reserve fund for the general fund. The fiscal team discussed this with the auditors, who also recommended this new budget line to establish for emergency and unforeseen expenses. The process for using these funds is as follows. Bullet number 1. Water department is faced with an emergency or unforeseen expense. Bullet number 2. The water superintendent presents his expense to the water board of commissioners. Bullet 3. The water board of commissioners determines that this expense is unforeseen and is emergency and votes to recommend that the reserve fund be used to cover this expense. The water board refers the request to the Board of Selectmen. Bullet number 4, the Board of Selectmen votes to authorize the payment of an unforeseen expense out of the reserve fund. Line number 13, this line needs to be removed. For the first year, we have an article creating the stabilization fund. We support the creation of a special purpose stabilization fund similar to the town stabilization fund. This type of fund can be used as a rainy day account for the enterprise fund and can only be accessed by a vote of town meeting. This means that the water board would need to have an article on the warrant to transfer funds out of the stabilization fund can be used to offset rising costs and rate costs. Form 2. Form 2 is a debt page. There is several principal and interest lines in the water department debt page totaling $810,599.59. The first principal payment of the state revolving loan for the water treatment plant is due this summer. The amount of this payment includes principal, interest, loan, origination, administrative. Did I leave something here?
If you did, I did.
You're missing it too?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a void here.
Mr. Chairman, I think it was copied, this has been copied wrong. Two-sided. Can check that out for
No, it's on the reverse side. We have a technical glitch here.
Yeah, it seems to end at that point. It seems to end at
I
that
seem
point.
to end at that
you.
point.
The inside of the second page is actually the last page.
Inside of the second page.
You had already read it.
Oh, I had already read it.
Apparently
Okay,
when it-
all right.
They copied
Okay.
it, so,
So it goes from there,
yeah.
and I read the page.
Appendix
Okay.
A, wage report.
Okay.
I don't know what's in here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was on the second page. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but-
All right.
so what you probably want to do is just take it line, you kind of jumped through it, so I think what we're
Okay.
gonna do is take each one,
Okay. Then come through.
so let me see that. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Okay, with that, we start, Tim, we'll start with Form 1. And we'll just head through the points that I just read through. And any comments that you have? And John and Laura? Okay. So Form 1, line 4, we have a new line, overtime line. We've broken out the wages into the base wages and overtime. Now we can track how much we spent on overtime. Is that
Oh, yeah.
sufficient?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments do you wish to add to that, or?
Well, I'd like to just say that I think that the many people involved in the team to look at this budget was much appreciated by us, because I think it, you know, it made things clearer or less, or more understandable to anybody, you know, picking this sheet up and looking at it. I think that we did a lot of, Laura did a wonderful job and a lot of work, you know, looking at these things and splitting it up, and I think that it's been heavily scrutinized, and I think the detail now is such that we can all look at it and say, yeah, that looks like, you know, we can look at that figure and, you know, understand it more. And I think that was the goal to everybody, and I think that we really gotta, you know, thank all these people involved in looking at it, and, you know, bring it up there that now we can look at it.
Well, I think, you know, especially last week, we sat down, fiscal team, and we, right at this table here, and we spent, what, 5 hours?
5 hours.
5 hours just in the water department, and we just went through line by line by line. And, you know, I think I commend the fiscal team for, you know, for their diligence, and you, Laura, and Tim.
A lot of things came on the, off, you know, a lot of questions came out.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at it and we sharpened our pencils, and we looked at the numbers again, and we looked at them several times. It was, you know, it wasn't all that 5 hours. It was all the work we did before going back
That's
and
right,
forth,
before we
so
came in and sat down here.
there was a lot of work involved there.
So this is, I mean, and again, you know, I would tell the townspeople, you know, this is, we want full transparency, okay, so that everyone in this town knows what, you know, they can depend on this budget coming before them for the water department, so. Bob, you have anything to add? You be in the fiscal team?
No, I thought we had a good working session. I know this is at least the second draft, and the second revision to the second draft. And I thought we were very productive, that spending those 5 hours going over it, and I think we've got a really good product here.
So we're gonna move on down to line 7, maintenance. This is the expense line that the water department, for the water department, we have worked to reduce this line. We reviewed the expense breakout on Form 5 after we have completed review of Form 1. So if the board would kind of follow along with us.
Well, Mr. Chairman, could we just get a sense of, from the Board of Selectmen as to the new template here for Form 1? We've arranged it to pull out some of the sub-budget lines and put them right into Article 6. I just don't want to get involved in the details of the expense budget until we get in a sense of if this is something that will meet the Board of Selectmen's directive to have a much more transparent budget presented to town meeting.
How does the board feel about these forms, the way they're put together compared to what we had before?
On Form 1, the budget arrangement
Form
now, what we have for wages and salaries.
Good night.
Thank you.
You know, so we've got that section. Then we have the maintenance expense, and then the consulting engineering costs. And this is just with the exclusion of the new treatment plant. This is just to keep things as they are. And then we go down to look at, and breaking this out, the new treatment plant expenses for 4 months of next fiscal year. We're just showing that separately so that going forward in fiscal 15, we can think about how that should be factored into the budget for the purposes of this town meeting, to show how those expenses have been earmarked off the general operating budget. And then we also want to get a sense of the selectmen's feeling on the capital plan. So instead of using the expense budget to fund hydrant replacement, and I know that the water department here can get into the details of what their capital plans are, but this is something that would address what the auditors continually bring up about just having a replacement program for things and how it should be funded. And it is in the template from the enterprise fund manual that's put out by the state. I mean, this is something that is part of enterprise fund budgeting. And then with the reserve fund, which is similar to the general fund reserve fund, except under this plan, the Board of Selectmen would be the board that would authorize the transfer or, you know, to pay for whatever the unforeseen expense. We did have a discussion with the auditors about that. They felt it should be the Board of Selectmen, not the Finance Committee, because under Chapter 44, it's the Board of Selectmen that recommends this budget to town meeting, and the Finance Committee is more of an advisory role. But that's all up for discussion by the board. And then the last is the creation of a new stabilization fund, which would be a rainy day fund, that we would need to have town council look at the article to create that, and then appropriate the funds into that. So we're not sure yet if this should be part of the budget yet, or what town council will advise, but this is just a draft, as you know. So is the Form 1, with everything you've just stated into the record, something that the selectmen feel needs improvement? Are there questions on it, just in the way it's arranged? Because this, we're trying to get an idea of what's presented to town meeting.
Do you remember what the form looked like last year, kind of? Okay, remember it was, we had to come back, we had to have several meetings with the water department because of the way the form was. Now, I think this form brings it and breaks it out in a lot better fashion than it was when it's done last year, and especially as we go forward. Now, any comments from the board as on Form 1, the way it is broken out? Jack, you have a lot of experience being a former water
Yeah, I
commissioner.
wasn't here last year on that, you know, a break before, but I mean, it does detail, and it looks well explained what you're doing here, you know, like town administrator Debbie said, the stabilization fund, 13, if you read across, it's 0 till we find out from town council or how it would be permittable to put it on
Well, I think,
a number.
yeah, and then when it comes to stabilization, you know how I feel about that. The more, you know, the money that you have in stabilization, that is a rainy day fund. You know, Dave, you've gone through this, you know, and it's there when we need it for the town. But I think it would be excellent for the water department to have that same fund in case of emergency that pops up unforeseen. So, Tim, you have anything to add?
Just a question on this. So the stabilization fund works, we have the money there available. If we have an emergency, then the procedure is we wouldn't have any chance, we wouldn't have much time to come to a board meeting. We'd have to use the fund and then come in and say, get it approved afterwards, or?
Well,
Mr. Chairman, no, actually, the process that Mr. Toomey just described would be accessing the reserve fund.
Reserve fund first.
Okay.
And then would go to.
The reserve fund would be, the process would be if the superintendent is encountering some unforeseen emergency situation where he doesn't have in his expense budget to pay for this item, he would make a presentation to the water board, who would need to approve it, refer it to the Board of Selectmen for approval. The Board of Selectmen would have to take that up
That's
and
the
make a
reserve.
decision.
That would be the
The stabilization fund is,
Would be in sort of what the town's general fund has a stabilization fund, so it's off the town budget, and it's accessed through a vote at town meeting. It's a supermajority, 2/3 vote to access it, so it has to be a well-thought-out, planned need to access those funds. They would be set aside and grow interest. I know the treasurer's here in the audience this evening, and she can lend in a little support on that if she wants to, but those funds would be used, and we had an example during the team meeting of maybe in the future of offsetting increased water rates to sort of bring that down, or if there's a large project, a new water tank, or some other large-scale item that needs to be factored in. This would be a way to either use those funds for something like that to offset
But
costs.
that decision will be made on town floor.
town meeting.
Town meeting floor. Anything else?
Is the board satisfied with pulling out the anticipated 4 months or so of new water treatment plant operations out of the expense line? That was something we had a conversation with the team on, and we feel that it would be much easier for people to understand that there is going to be 4 months of the new water treatment plant, and we're just holding that out separately.
Yeah, I think the increased detail that we see on this report is wonderful, and that we'll be looking for board votes to detail all of their expenses, and that they follow the expense lines. And they won't be having capital equipment against expenses and whatever, that they, you know where each line is and what you have to spend on each line. It's clearly delineated.
Okay, and then at the indirect cost, which is, not a surprise, that's something that happens every year. Under that, we have the debt service. This is on Form 1, just showing the total amount of the debt service. And the cost of debt issuance, which is actually a one-time fee for the state revolving fund, is finally gone out and has issued the payment schedule. And Treasurer Karen Summit's here this evening. She can actually just discuss how that $85,000 is broken up. It's a one-time expense. She's got the precise amounts.
Part of it is a one-time expense. What happens is the state revolving fund, through the Mass Water Pollution Abatement Trust, has decided that, okay, Rowley with, several other projects that they have, they're ready to sell them to the market. So what happens is they have guaranteed us a 2% interest rate, but what happens is there are many costs of issuance. So we have basically an origination fee of $54,985, which is kind of what they've allocated to us for our share of the borrowing, of the marketing costs. And then there's an admin fee of 1.5%, which gets paid with each interest payment. So as the term goes down, the 1.5% will shrink. But in the first year, it's $8,247.75, and that will be on the interest payment in June, and then also on the January 2014. And there's also a $12,500 allocated in there for the review of the project by bond counsel. Our bond counsel reviews anything that has to do with town debt. So that's where that number comes from, the roughly $85,000.
Okay, so that's the cost of debt insurance.
Right.
Okay. Issuance, I'm sorry.
I mean, we anticipate town meeting's gonna have, questions on this, so that's why I wanna make sure that Board of Selectmen's got a full grasp on what we're looking at here in Form 1.
Karen, when you said 2% interest, and then you mentioned 1.5%, is that on top of the 2%?
It's an origination fee. Hold on one second.
Separate from the 2%.
Separate from the actual
It's-
interest on the borrowing.
Hold on, let me just pull up my schedule here.
It's kind of like a,
I'm sorry, it's 0.15%.
Okay.
0.15%, okay.
Sorry about that.
That's better.
I forgot my glasses. And as I said, as the principal owed goes down, that amount will go down as well.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right.
Okay, and then, so Form 2 is just the breakout on that debt. That's the detail, and you can see the water treatment plant.
Dave, thank you.
Lines
Thanks, Dave.
16 and 17.
15 and 17, yeah.
16 and 17.
16 and 17, okay, that's the principal and interest.
But actually, Debbie, where it says interim loan,
Oh,
we
sorry.
should strike that.
Okay. Right.
Now,
Because
Karen,
this is
on
the permanent borrowing.
on line 17, that dot 4,
That goes with the interim loan, that should also be removed from there.
oh, okay. The dot 14%,
Right,
Okay.
that had to do with the interim borrowings, but we're being permanently financed.
okay.
Yeah, and I'll take out Liz's last payment, that was just in the.
Carried over,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So.
I'll take that
this will-
column out, okay.
We'll be proofreading it several times before it goes to the
Okay.
printer.
I just made notes.
So Form 1, Form 2, any other questions on Form 2?
And then Form 3 is the standard, as you said before, Mr. Chairman, that's the reimbursement to the general fund by the enterprise fund for indirect costs.
Okay, that
That's
is,
usually Article 7 on the warrant.
any questions on Form 3? Move on to Form 4.
So Form 4 is the wage one. We just
Wage
need to
one.
update that a little bit. We have 2 secondary water operator positions. The water board had added a second secondary, so I would probably work with Laura on that,
Okay.
just update that. And update it because of changes and things like that. So it could be just minor changes to this,
Yes.
maybe not significant, I would say they're more gonna be moderate to minor.
Okay.
And we'll look at the final numbers.
Moving on to Form 5. I think this one you can really see the breakout of the water expenses.
Okay, so on that Form 5, Mr. Chairman, as you just discussed with the board, the team met in a marathon session last week, really all workday, and with the water department, and went through each line, reconfigured some lines, and did a lot of cost estimation to come up with some revised numbers. Because we didn't have all the historical data there.
As you can see, that the number has significantly dropped.
So I don't know if you want to go through that now on a line-by-line basis to see if the board has any questions.
Okay. Do you gentlemen take a look at, as we come down, from number 1, we have lines 1 through 38. Any questions on any of those particular lines? Jack, do you have anything you see? That's,
No, just being a part of the last few meetings down there, and what Laura's acting superintendent, she's done a great job working with the commissioners to get these breakdowns, and then coming before the team and finalizing. And to me, they did a good job. You added a few, but everyone looked at what we gotta do down there to.
so I think
Come up with it.
you look at the FY13 budget of $455,000, and going into the FY14 budget of $387,000.
Significant drop.
So significant change in the budget. So any other comments? Stu? Bob?
Monthly billing gone from 9,600 to 18,000.
That was only for a partial year, right, Laura? That
Right,
was,
so now we're
for
monthly,
fiscal
yeah.
13. It was not a monthly.
It'll be a full 12 months this time, because we're billing monthly now. The previous year it was
Yes.
less than a year.
Okay.
I forget how many months we had, but
Right.
it was probably about 6 months or so.
I think, I think we started
Yeah.
monthly billing last year in
May.
June?
May.
June, okay, May, June,
May.
okay. So any other questions on one of those, any of those 38 lines? Tim, you have anything to add, Commissioner?
Well, some of the cost went up because, things do increase in cost, and
Mm-hmm.
and certainly found some areas where we could glean back. So I think the budget is a very good budget for the town. I think that we're all going to be working or focusing our efforts to try to save on even these prices, Now that there's a heightened awareness of all this, so I
Mhm.
think, I think we have a good budget. I recommend it to the board, the selectmen. I think we have a, you know, we're gonna have a new plant coming online. There are some unknowns. We're liable to, you know, come up with some things we missed, but I think that we got a pretty good grasp on what we got here, and I think that we're gonna get through the following year on this budget.
Joe, is there anything?
Nothing further.
Nothing? Okay. So does everybody feel comfortable with this, the way this been put together? And I want to commend the team for sitting down last week, and it was a long day that we spent here at the table. I mean, we were...
Next time we do that, Bob, I wanna give me a heads up so I can get a big breakfast.
Yeah, I wouldn't let them go from the table. I apologize, but I think we come up with a good product, Jeff. So.
And then, Mr. Chairman, so the Water Department has put together this 5-year capital plan to, the board may have seen that on an earlier draft that's come in. So this is a program that they really have put a lot of focus in developing this, looking at the different infrastructure needs that they have over the next 5+ years of what things are going to need to be replaced or updated or upgraded in different ways.
Tim, you want to take us through that a little bit on the capital plan?
Well, Laura, you know, in seeing a lot of things over the last year, came up with this plan. She did a wonderful job. This is to keep ahead on the things that we anticipate we're going to need, you know, because of the age of vehicles and things like that. We've actually put some things on hold for next year. I think we can, you know, look at that with better eyes after we get further on into the year and us actually get the treatment plant going. To see like the loader, we're going to look at that, see if we really need it or we can sub that out. So we're going to look at that with respect to maybe doing some outside services to cover our needs on that. But going forward from there, I think that looking at fiscal year 15 through 18, you know, we have some planned expenses, capital expenses, and I think this is going to keep us, you know, a functional, less hassle-free operation.
So you're on this, you know, the first one, hydrants. So you're looking to replace 4 hydrants per year. And going forward. Okay.
So that goes back to Form 1 for the capital program. So what Laura did was earmark how that would be funded. The proposal is, you know, to keep that on a continuous program, and it did come at the recommendation of the auditors as well.
That's a big increase in fiscal year 16, though, for the Fennel Drive.
And that's just proposed at this point?
That's, yeah.
Yeah,
that's,
we're not sure that that's something, it's on the radar, Joe. We'll have to be looking into that.
This is like a work in progress. I think every year we're going to be looking at this and seeing what's...
Yeah, it's more. It's instead of being set in concrete, it's more like set in oatmeal. It's, you know, it can be moved.
Exactly.
But I think it's important that you're setting up a structure so that, you know, like the highway department, that vehicles have to be replaced, and you just can't go 10 or 15 years without, you know, while they're breaking down on the road. As you.
Well, the hydrants and the water, the gate valves. And, there's some rather old gate valves on the system.
Mhm.
We've had some problems in the past, and Sean can attest to that. Where, we did it,
Well, what you put together here on this form, you have, it's a proactive, well thought out, for the future. Looking at the future and saying, this is what we propose. It doesn't mean that, you'll go that
Yeah.
road, but
Exactly.
at least you have
a target.
and looking forward, you say, this is what I need in the future, this is what I need in the future. We may not do that, but we can fluctuate in,
Right.
what comes up in the future. You can't read the tea leaves and know exactly what's gonna happen out there, because and especially in maintenance world, as you well know, John, you know this, I mean, you have plans to do A, B, and C, and then all of a sudden C blows up on you, and you have to go out and you have to replace pipe, or something comes out of left field at you because of something unforeseen.
Right.
So,
I'm a little worried about asking the question, but I'm gonna do it anyway. About how many gate valves do you have in town?
680.
Hmm?
680.
680.
Yep, and we're adding 2 new gate valves for the country club.
mhm.
And how many for the Village Green? We just added another gate there.
3.
3 there.
Mhm.
Wow.
No, 4.
4. So we're adding gates.
As each project
Yeah.
comes online.
Okay.
And you've you used GPS, correct, to locate each one of these?
Yep,
Actually, Merrimack Valley had been
Merrimack
doing that
Valley,
for us.
yep,
Yep.
yep. We have them all on a map.
Yep.
Yep.
So you know where each one is. That's important.
It's been a good resource for us.
Yeah, Merrimack Valley is
Yeah.
a great resource. Great resource. We use it quite a bit, which we should.
Okay, and then the last page is the rate report.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, getting back to the capital plan, the first year, the 2014, the next fiscal year, we dropped that 215,000 down to 50,000 to help us with keeping things down in the budget.
You dropped from 215 down to 182.
No, down to 50,000. So everything's on hold. The 50,000 for the pickup trucks. And
Oh, okay, on hold, yes, okay.
so we're trying to do our best to get the budget down.
Okay. And then moving to the last page on the rates. Can you walk us through that?
So how we look at the rates, we have a tiered rate structure.
Okay.
Tier 1 is typically our, single-family, 2-member households.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at a 5-year usage average in that tier rate. So we're going to pump 5 million gallons, 5,679,788 in tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
But as we go into tier 2 and tier 3, we break out every tier so that the first 0 to 4,000 gallons are at the lowest possible rate. So if you're in tier 2 and you are 5,000 gallons, the first 4,000 you're going to pay at the lowest tier rate. And then we go into the next, in tier 2 we go from 4,000 to 36,000. And then in tier 3, these are our commercial, our big users in town. And they're 36,000 and up. And you can see there's only 38 accounts in that tier. So we break out the number of accounts in each tier, and then we look at the average bill.
Okay. So the 1 to 4,000, we have 1,500 accounts fall in that 1 to 4,000
Yeah.
usage. And then we have 241 accounts that fall into the 4 to 36,000.
Right.
Okay. And then we have 38 accounts that use more than 36,000.
Yep.
Okay.
And what we noticed, you know, with the monthly billing, you know, people can make corrections sooner. You know, if they're using their irrigation system. We had today, one resident who discovered a leak while she was in Florida. So, I mean, we can react quicker to some of these higher tier usage, with the monthly billing. So that's what happened. We shifted down because more and more people are conserving and really using the monthly billing to watch their water usage.
Now, the rate has gone from
$11.25
$11.25
to $15.75.
$15.75. Okay. And that's the 0 to 4,000.
Right.
Okay. Okay, then 0, the 4,000 to 36,000, it's now $18.75, and that
was
went from
13.
From 13.
25, yeah.
13.25 up. Okay. And then the 36,000 in up is now at 20.75, and
Yeah.
that went from
14.
14. Okay. And the percentage of increase of each one of these, do we have that?
I had it on another sheet. I think the
Okay.
first one was, you know, they're around 40. We shifted the, to tier 3, they're at 46%. Sorry, I didn't have that sheet with me. Or maybe I do. You know, to go with our conservation plan, you know, to try to get the bigger users to use less water. We shifted the rate a little heavier on the bigger users. I'm sorry, I had that with me.
Okay. Well, I think we need to get the word out to the people, and understand that the rates
Yeah.
have gone up. And I think we need to get that, you know, something in the billing, or a letter or something, to explain that to them, so that.
Sure.
This is as of July 1st?
This would be July 1st, that's correct. So, you know, be doing the billing actually next week for April.
Mhm.
That might be too soon to get it out for April, but May definitely,
Definitely
we can
May.
get the
I think
rates
May,
out.
June, and you know, get this into the letter so
Right.
that people understand, you know, that the
Yeah,
rate,
we
there is
usually
a
do
significant
that,
rate
yeah.
change here.
Yeah. We'll get it definitely out in the May and June billing. Not sure if we can quickly, you know, next week, if we have a board meeting, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
When
reading next.
should we put that in that though? We should figure that out.
Well, typically, we do tell everybody every year when the rates go up, and there's a little, I can show it to you, Tim, what we've done in the past, and
Okay.
the board can vote on it, and,
I think it'd be also helpful, you know,
We could put it-
at the board meetings, to
Yeah.
mention it, you know, at the end of the board meeting, you know, just to,
Yeah.
something so that
Right.
people understand and get the message out across the town. So, you don't want
Yeah.
people to all of a sudden be hit with a significant water bill.
right. And these rates are per 1,000 gallons, so
Mhm.
that's our multiplier. So we're, you know, clear, everybody understands that. It's not per gallon, it's per 1,000 gallons.
Per 1,000 gallons, right.
So,
So what would that, do you have the figure just, you know, per gallon, what it would be, you know, what,
it's around 2 cents, you know.
2 cents per gallon, the new rates?
The new rates.
The
The
new
rate that
rates.
we have now is 1 cent per
1 cent.
gallon at
Okay.
11.25.
Okay,
Um,
just, still cheaper
So-
than bottled water.
Still cheaper.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, just, but people have to, you know,
It's still a big number.
it's still a big number.
Yeah.
It can add up, it can not watch it. I just want to make sure that the townspeople understand that there's a rate increase, and not to, you know, conserve and
Well,
be
a lot has
careful
to
with the
do
water.
with this new plant going in, and,
it's, yeah, well,
right.
you know, and then,
Debt service.
the debt service of that, to put the new plant in, and we're a small community. We have a small amount of customers, so we have to split this across a small, customer base. Unfortunately, that's what it is. If we had more customers, it'd be, we'd be in a,
Well, we need this water treatment plant.
We have
This is
no-
something required
we've
of
got
us.
clean water now, and, we're gonna have cleaner water. There's some problems on the west part of town.
Yep.
That's gonna clear up. They should be pleased that they're gonna get, purer water. And it's gonna taste good too.
The big thing too is it's right now with putting a treatment plan in, we're shuffling numbers around. It's gonna take you really a full year to run and sit down and know what the numbers is. Your chemical, if you got 40 there now, we might be paying 28. And the big thing is that Laura went a couple of weeks ago, and now we're gonna be saving on our chemicals.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Which is gonna be a big thing, which is
Yeah.
good on your part, that we're gonna save on a discount.
Yeah.
Chemicals is a big factor. Whether it's gonna cost us, we won't really know. Basically, the gallons that you pump out and what you gotta put in for chemicals too, for treatment.
Right.
And 1 year after you run, you sit down and it could decrease.
Should be
or
should have a
could
significant,
increase. Yeah, it's experiment.
decrease, because we don't have to use all the chemicals, correct? I mean, that we're using.
And actually, a couple more.
Yeah, you're gonna be adding, I think, a
But
couple of chemicals.
There was a big difference between the companies that were outside the consortium and the ones that are in. Typical example, Univar, a gallon of chlorine was, I think, $3.25. With the consortium, I think it's somewhere near $1.
$1.19.
$1.19.
The money you save,
Yeah.
working,
Problem was before that we had trouble getting in the consortium because of our volume. They like to see a certain amount of volume for you to be eligible to be in the consortium. So we never used that much in the past because we had low pumpage. But it's grown over the years. And,
Excuse me, John, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were through. Go ahead. You're through?
yeah.
This is why it's so important to watch every dollar. Out of 35 towns, Raleigh's the highest.
Right. And there's some reasoning behind that too. I mean, a lot of towns built facilities 10, 15, 20 years ago. Costs were less, rates were less. Some of them are paid off. And they're not even paying debt service, so they've completed their debt service on them. Unfortunately, ours is hitting at probably one of the most expensive times in history, as far as
Well, for building
price of
maybe, but not
materials.
for, not for our debt service. Our debt service is probably the best time, correct, Karen?
the
Yes,
debt service
rates
part
are
of
low.
it. The rates are low,
Historically.
but cost of materials and
Cost of materials are high,
current day
so.
labor
Yeah.
costs and stuff. So it's
As we go
You're kind of at the
forward, we should
forefront.
be in a better position debt-wise
right.
than other towns that go on, and try to do something like this 10 years from now. So,
Oh yeah. Every year is more expensive. So.
any other questions on the rates?
None.
None? All right. Anything else, Tim?
The other thing, you'd have to, this hasn't been approved yet by our board, right? Is this gonna be,
This budget, yeah, it was.
it was.
approved at the last meeting?
Friday night,
Yep.
So you got a meeting for Wednesday night, right?
right.
What's that gonna be entailed?
So we were just setting up, just in case there was some changes tonight, and we are going to the FinCom, I think, Wednesday night. So
That's
we'll
a-
bring this back to the water board one more time, next week, after we finish up our meetings.
I think we're
We
gonna
do need to
vote on
make
the
some
articles.
modifications on one of the pages, so.
Yeah,
we were just looking
the
at-
secondary,
Yeah, the,
On which form?
you know, as I mentioned before, just on the Form 4. So I'll be, as I said, we'll be working with Laura.
Oh, yes,
to make
yes,
some
yes.
changes that will reflect the bottom line number. So, you know, this budget's not ready to be approved by the
Right.
selectmen yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can hold out a little bit longer on that. We just need to get a sense of direction from the Board of Selectmen, if this is the way this should be presented in keeping with the selectmen's directive that something different be presented to town meeting that looks a little different and has clear budget lines. So
Yeah, I-
if that's the case, then we know we're on the right track.
Do you feel comfortable, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think they've met the target.
Okay.
I think it's much improved.
Thank you.
I think it was well worth the time that we put in, you know, sitting at this table and working through the numbers. It was painful, you know, like I said, I kind of used the analogy, it was like watching sausage made. It's an ugly process, but on the other end, you know, it tastes good and it comes out, you know, so it is kind of,
Presentable.
yeah, it's presentable and edible. So, yeah, we had some tense moments here at the table, but we worked through it, and, you know, I think when we go to town meeting, we'll present this, and, you know, the people see that, you know, we have a good product here.
I think, you know, a lot of people, you know, in that team, you know, that meeting last week, you know, on the same page. Everybody's on the same page. They've all did the homework and went in there and asked plenty of questions, and we all feel very comfortable with this budget, and to see it's the leanest we can operate on. So I think that we did a wonderful job.
You know, it was not sitting here patting ourselves on the back. It was contentious sometimes at the table, but we worked through it, and we, you know, looked at this budget and compared, you know, took the scissors to it, and, you know, I think we come away with something, you know, again, a good product.
In short form, we agreed to disagree.
Yeah, we did agree to disagree, so.
Yeah, and it's gonna look good, I mean, that everyone helped here at the town hall, when we go to town hall, whoever brings us up and presents us to the people of the town, you know, questions are, well, there was 8 people. We worked 5 to 6 hours to get what you're reading tonight.
You know, it's really more than 5, 6
Yeah.
hours.
Well, I mean,
Again,
I'm
as
just
we
saying
said,
at the table,
before we
but
got to, you know, we had other meetings.
Many
and
hours.
everyone here, you know, had our pencils, you know, sharpened and before we even got here and sat at the table. So, and again, now we go forward to the FinCom on
Right.
Wednesday night. So we'll present there. So, anything else?
No, I think it's good too that we have a finance member, Larry, that understands maybe the hopeful will talk to the water board Wednesday night on this presented tonight.
Well, you've had, you know, you
We have 2 representatives that normally take the, to go to the water board meetings, that, you know, they are there specifically for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
What I'm meaning though, that, yeah, here, and we went through it tonight. And I think it's good.
I think it's great with the FinCom. FinCom assigns members,
Right.
you know, to different boards, and I think, you know, it's great because when you watch a FinCom meeting, they present their report, and you really get a feeling of that department. So.
So we have a meeting, was it Wednesday night, and we're gonna talk about the articles. We're gonna put the articles in this budget, is
Right.
that what?
Well, there'll be, we discussed having special town meeting articles, some things that we, during our budget meeting, were one-time expenses that we realized could really be standalone, so I presume at some point the board will send over some draft articles. And those have to go to the Selectmen and Finance Committee too.
So again, if the people at home glean some information out of tonight's meeting, they can tune in Wednesday night at 7:30 to the FinCom meeting and get a little bit more detail in the breakout. So with that, I think that's it that we have.
Wednesday night's meetings at 6 o'clock.
We're at 6, yeah,
Thank you.
6 o'clock,
for the water board.
water board, that's
Wednesday night also.
Wednesday night also, okay, before the FinCom.
Before the FinCom.
Now, is, Mr. Vicar, I understand, is sick, is he gonna be able to meet?
I'm not
Health
sure on that
reason,
answer right now.
Mr. Martin?
I'm not sure on that answer.
So basically, if you only have one member there,
Then we
you're not
won't
gonna
have a
have, you
quorum,
won't have a
yeah.
meeting.
Right, we're gonna hope for the best.
Okay.
So, the worst case is we're gonna have to reschedule it, so I don't know what the schedule.
Look into that, just be
Okay.
seeing what happens.
Okay,
Roy came home this afternoon.
Yeah.
you did? Okay. Is he all right? No? Okay. All right. With that, I guess we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming in. John, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Jim, thank you.
Do you need us? No, this is just the general one. Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Until,
Okay. I lost my schedule.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Karen Summit here, and we're behind schedule. Would it be possible to take up old business number 2
Sure,
out of order?
you can accommodate.
Thank you.
Old business. Old business. Okay. Okay, go to old business number 2, and that's the review of the FY14 budget. Okay, I'll review the balanced budget sheet for fiscal team has been working for the past couple of months. The team met last week after receiving the good news that Triton number was less than the requested amount. I will review the sheets. Also, Debbie is asking for the selectmen to approve an increase in the Memorial Day and Veterans Fund by $200. Also, the Agricultural Commission is seeking an additional $500 for a total of $1,000. So I'm just going to take you down through the fiscal budget, and I'll go down by the numbers. We'll start with the fiscal 2014 budget. Revenues, estimated taxes, $12,447,730. Estimated state aid, $575,898. Estimated local receipts, that's $1,250,000. Free cash, $600,000. Other, $191,884. For a total of $15,665,512. So that's revenues. Now we go to required expenses before town meeting. State assessment, negative $141,762. Allowances for tax abatements, negative $170,000. Prior year snow and ice deficit, negative $60,000. Other, recap interest, tax title, library grant, negative $69,662 for a total of a negative $441,424. After you take this off, you have a net revenue of $14,624,088. Now we continue down, we come to schools, Triton and Whittier. It's 8 million, this will be taken off the 14 million I just announced. $8,287,699. Now, that assessment, okay, is 59.76% of our operating budget for the Triton and Whittier. Okay, so when you've taken this off, that 8,287,000, now you come down to a net of 6,336,389. Now you come down again. This is the same thing that I've done for the past 3 years, when we have the meetings upstairs and then at town meeting. So you'll hear this several more times as we go. Less fixed cost, retirement, Medicare, unemployment, health and liability insurance is negative $1,253,357. Debt service, a negative $439,028, for a grand total of $1,692,385, which is 12.2% of the operating budget. The balance remaining to the fund operating budget is $4,644,004, or 28.4% for the operating budget for the town. So again, as we come through the spreadsheet, I think that's the best way of explaining the budget, the fiscal budget. And I've asked, I think everybody agrees at the table, when we put the fiscal budget together, it's much better to put it like that, so people can see this is where your money's going. We've had spreadsheets before, and they're very confusing. I like 1 or 2 pieces of paper. That's it. And you run your household should be run the same way as the town is run, so you can see your operating budget. So,
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Just because of my previous experience on the Board of Trustees of the library. Required expenses, library grant?
That's the cherry sheet assessment. There's an assessment, I believe, as well as an addition on the cherry sheet.
Oh.
I don't know specifically how much it is. I'd have to look it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, again.
You can look it up for you, Joe, and get you an answer.
So again, we need to vote on the Veterans Day and the memorial.
Yes, and we have on the second sheet should be debt in your package. And we have the treasurer here to answer any questions from the selectmen, because this is what I'm going to be putting in the budget. She's prepared those amounts for fiscal 14.
So we got the department budget, the debt service. Debt service on 3rd page, Form 1. Any questions on that?
Principal and interest.
Principal and interest. Principal and interest.
And actually, cost 14 is going down slightly from 13.
What happened was last fiscal year 12, we had been able to refinance some of that debt. And, we're now recognizing some of the savings from that refinancing. Plus, a lot of our debt is moving closer to maturity, so we're paying less interest. That's why you're seeing those interest numbers go down significantly. There's one new item on there. We voted at last year's town meeting on the capital equipment number 3. So you'll see we're making our first payment on that in fiscal year 14, and we'll be making the final payment on capital equipment number 1 in 14. So those were kind of 5-year revolving plans to replace things that needed to be replaced.
What's the percentage of I take it I'm gonna ask you the question anyways. What's the percentage of our debt, total
Yep.
balance sheet?
That's more of a town accountant question, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
She's the one who manages all the fund balances.
Mm-hmm.
But, our debt is very low percentage-wise. When we have our ratings calls with Moody's, they say, we could easily have more debt.
Okay. So I'm trying to think what we were last year, and the numbers are escaping me.
Yeah,
But
I can find that out and let you know, but off the top of my head.
It is very low.
It is very, yeah.
Especially compared to other towns around here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, again, I've said we run a very lean and mean town, and we really do. So
Right.
We don't go out on a limb for, on debt, so. So, anything else you can add to that?
No, like I said,
Okay.
we refinanced that debt, and, it's saving us money now, and it will continue. I think, most of the issues that we refinanced had about 10 years left on them, so we'll be seeing those savings.
Okay. All right. The Agricultural Commission is requesting an increase in the budget from $500 to $1,000. Debbie has been in contact with Diane Short, and she explained that the Agricultural Commission has asked for donations. They do not have a revolving fund which helps offset costs. However, they have had a $500 budget since 2003. For the community garden program, the Agricultural Commission has had to replace hardware on the water spigots and the hoses. They have also reimbursed people for the fuel for their tractors and mowers. For the Farmers Market, Agricultural Commission needs additional funds to cover the rental costs of portable restroom and replace the banners because they're very worn out. Agricultural Commission appreciates all that the town has done to support its programs. So, do I have a motion from the board to increase the Memorial Day, Veterans Day budget by $200?
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Also, the Agricultural Commission is
that's right.
seeking an additional $500 for a total of $1,000. Do I have a motion from the
Make that
board?
motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I was disappointed that I had to give up my garden, but it's a lot of fun. And it gives you some great produce out of there. They do a great job. Thank you, Karen.
Karen, thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay.
Now, our 8:15 appointments?
8:15 appointments. Sorry, Chief, for hour and 10 minutes, and sorry to keep you waiting. So, let me go back into my appointment folder. And to my 8:15 appointment. Okay. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Chief Barker. Chief Barker is going to talk about his FY14 budget.
Correct.
Okay.
So, I presented everybody a packet so you can follow along a little bit.
Mhm.
Basically, I was requested to submit a level-funded budget, which I did, but I wanted to make sure that the impact of the level funding again was spelled out a little bit. I mean, it's easy to think, oh, level funding, you're not going backwards. Well, not exactly true. And so I did a little research in the last 5 years. In 2009, before I became chief, the budget was $1,408,469. 2010, it was level funded. In that year, 2010, we had Chief Kevin Barry retire, and we had to come up with some additional monies in order to fund his retirement. But essentially, that was a one-time expenditure. The next year, we took a 5% reduction, and that brought us down to $1,340,743. and the year after that, we took a 2.5% reduction, brought us down to 1,307,788. And in that year, being the lowest in the last 5 years, we required $21,000 in transfers. There was $11,000 in expenses and $10,000 in wages because we just couldn't continue to function. And we had, on the expenses, we had, I think we had a cruiser problem, which is par for the course. This year I felt very fortunate. The selectmen and the town did a wonderful job, I thought, in restoring some of the cuts from the year before. But it still puts us back to the numbers that we were at in 2008 or 2007. So the only increase that's really come in the last 5 years to the police department has been last year's increase, and it really wasn't an increase, it was a bit of a catch-up. So I took the liberty to take a look at the inflation over the last 5 years, and so I listed that for everybody to see. I mean, I know we're not going to keep up with inflation, but just as kind of a comparison, you know, you're talking 2009 inflation was 2.7%, 2010 it was 1.5%, 2011 it was 3%, and 2012 was 1.7%. You know, I don't know what it'll be this year, but you can be sure it won't be a negative number.
Right.
So if you do it out real quick, you know, if we took the 2009 budget figure and we increased it by the inflation for all those years, right now our budget should be sitting at $1,537,948. It'd be about 11% above where we were, and you know, that's a pretty big gap. And level funding again this year just widens the gap, because you know, everything's going up, you know, and except for the budget. So I talk about a lot of that on page 2 a little bit. You know, we're still able to provide essential services. We keep 2 men on patrol at all times, which you know, I think is essential for Rowley. What we're not able to do is any proactive type of things, investigations, or those type of options. You know, like drug investigations. We just don't have the funding or the manpower to be effective in that, you know, in that particular area. Our staff is being trained to the bare minimum. You know, we're doing a lot of online training, but this year we had enhanced 911 dispatchers were required now to train for at least 16 hours per year, and they're also required to be EMD, emergency medical dispatch trained, certified. This is a new state law. So we were already EMD certified. We have been for a while, but they've changed the requirements on how we have to go through and keep these people up to date.
Can you just explain to the public what EMD?
Yeah, that's a good question. Emergency medical dispatch. You pick up the telephone and call 911 because somebody in your family's having a medical emergency, or someone you're witnessing is having a medical emergency. The dispatchers are now able to give you medical advice over the telephone. They ask you what are the symptoms, and they have a whole list of next steps. So while you're waiting for the police and the fire to get there, we can give you life-saving instructions, CPR, that type of thing. You know, if there's severe bleeding, we can help you curb that. Right. So it's a very, very positive step, and I don't mean to make it sound negative, but it was a state mandate, and you know, so we all kind of had to come on board. Now, to offset that, the state 911 Commission has made grant money available to us, and we were able to secure $30,520 this year to kind of offset some of these training costs. And it's, to be honest with you, it's really bailed us out, because we can now send people to the 16-hour training, and they'll reimburse most of the costs. They won't pay for it all, but they will reimburse most of it. And the courses are free, and they'll reimburse us the salaries. Sure. Where we didn't luck out so well is with police officer training. There's been no increases in police officer training funding in the last several years. It's actually gone down. I think there's somewhere around $17,000 1,500 police officers in the state, and we have $2.2 million to do any training, and that includes reserve the new recruit academies. So there's just no training, and the training council has told us, the chiefs, they've decided that their mandate is just to tell us what to train and not to deliver that training. So they're up there telling us, you have to train this, this, and this, however you can work it out. So what we're doing is we're training with online resources. The Mass Police Institute has an online class where we can train a lot of things that you don't need to do physically hands-on. But that training, well, it's adequate, it's not as effective as one-on-one training. And it's not geared towards Rowley, it's geared toward every town. You know, Boston, Cambridge, Worcester, they have all different problems from Rowley, you know. So we like to have a little bit more tailored training, which we're not really able to do. Another change that happened this year or recently is firearms qualification used to be once a year. It's now 3 times a year. The cost to that is about $4,800 in wages extra for us, and then ammunition, when we can get it, it's another $1,100 for that. I'm not budgeted for that, but I'm expected to.
Is there any kind of grant or anything for ammunition?
There's no grants at all. As a matter of fact, you're lucky to be able to buy ammunition. When I first took over as chief, we had a training coming up, and I picked up the phone and I called my usual supplier and I said, "Oh, send me 5 cases," and he just laughed. He said, "Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?" I had to call all around until I found someone that actually had it in stock, and I couldn't buy what I wanted. I had to buy a different brand. But
yeah, I understand that all military and police calibers are.
There's a huge shortage, and you know, the people that work in these factories are saying they're running 24/7 round the clock. They don't know what the problem is, but I think that with current situations like the new hook, I believe there's a lot of people that are concerned that firearms are going to start to become a thing of the past, and they're making use of their options now, and we've seen that as far as pistol permits are concerned as well. We have a huge increase in people that are applying, and there's a huge backlog now. The state, it's supposed to be 45 to 60 days. It's taken 4 to 5 months to get a permit process now. We got, last I knew, we had 52 permits sitting in the queue in Boston waiting to be printed. So there's a huge influx everywhere, and
hunting calibers, I guess there's no problem of getting those.
You know, I'm not sure because I'm not a hunter, and the only thing I've tried to buy is you know, the ammo that we use. But I'm told that there's shortages of most anything. You know, even the Plinken 22 rounds.
Yeah, I heard 22 rounds are really.
A friend of mine was just telling me he went to buy some ammo the other day, and he used to buy a 500 round case of 22 ammo. He said they'd separated it out into baggies, and you could buy 100 rounds at a time, and there was one per customer. So you know, there's a shortage of it everywhere. But
was there ever state funding for?
Not to my knowledge. No. But it didn't used to cost us much either. You know.
Yeah.
You know. So
I imagine the price has gone up, Chief, where there's a shortage.
Yeah, and we're able to buy it on state bid, which is helpful. It's about $300 a case for the handgun ammo, and a case is 1,000 rounds. So you're talking about 30 cents a round, basically. The patrol rifle ammo is more money. That was, if I remember, it was $249 for a case of 200. But you know, that's 223 ammo. So that's you expect that to be a little more expensive. We don't use as much of that because we don't have to qualify exactly the same. But
I understand the military going back to the 45.
Yeah, it could be. There's some of the police departments around have gone to that too. I find that the 40 caliber is adequate for what we want, and you know, I just don't think it's worth trying to stir up a big hornet's nest over changing all the guns and ammo and all the training that it require, and you know. So we're able to make do with what we have. So. All right, well, that kind of covers that. I want to talk a little bit about our police station.
Okay.
We have maintenance issues that have brought up to the board from time to time. The HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Every year Maya comes out and does an assessment of all the town buildings, as you know. Every year they say, this furnace needs to be replaced. And every year I say, well, you know, you're right, but there's only so much we can do. Well, this year I went as far as to getting an estimate to replace that furnace. And when I had the people come out from Breen and Sullivan,
Right.
they looked at it. They said, well, this was never a commercial furnace, so it wasn't really up to commercial code when they installed it in the first place back in 1986. But they went through the whole thing and they said, this is what you need. And the estimate came out to $21,655. Obviously, you know, it's still working, but the longer we wait, the more likely it is to go into failure mode. And
Is that an oil furnace? Or is it gas?
it is natural gas.
Natural gas.
And it's hot air.
Hot air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we have auxiliary heating and cooling in dispatch, which we were able to buy under a 911 incentive grant. And I don't remember exactly how much that was, but it was probably $11,000, somewhere in that range. So if the furnace goes out in the station, at least the dispatchers will be able to stay warm until we can get the rest of it fixed.
Okay.
But it's one of those things. It should be on the punch list somewhere. It really needs to be done.
This furnace again, 1986.
1986, yeah.
I think we got our money's worth out of that,
Yeah.
and then some.
Other things we have for problems, the flooring in the booking room it's tile and it's coming up. It's really slip hazard at this point. We've got carpet that's completely worn out in several of the other rooms. In the sergeant's office, used to be the chief's office, there's one exterior door that's been leaking for the last several years, and the floor is now rotted underneath, so if you step on it you can kind of feel it spongy. That's something I'm going to need to fix this year as soon as the weather changes, and I'll have to try to squeeze it out of this year's budget. But piggybacking along with that, we really should address that door situation where the water's coming in. The other door that we have a problem with is the back door where we bring the prisoners in and out. This is a cinder block building with a fancy brick face on the outside. That requires metal door frames, and the water and ice have built up under the frame over the years, and it's now all rusted and rotted out, so that's going to need replacing as well. The other thing that keeps happening is the state does annual inspections on our cell block, and we continually fail because there's cracks and expansion marks and stuff in the flooring and the walls because it's a cinder block building and it's a poured slab concrete. There's expansion joints and stuff, and the state fails that because they say you can have bacteria build up in those cracks and crevices if it's not easy to be cleaned. Well, I've had my janitor in there, he washes with bleach basically to try and prevent that problem, but you know, like I say, we fail the inspections every year. The plumbing fixtures in there are special fixtures that are designed so that, you know, there's suicide prevention, and the Raleigh water is pretty hard, as you probably know from living here, and the fixtures are all corroding because of the water, and they don't get run very much because we don't use them a lot. I had an estimate last year after the state came in, and I had a company come in that does just that, and they gave me an estimate of $6,000 to bring the cells up to what the state's looking for in code. Well, I didn't have that kind of money, and there was not that kind of money around in the town, so I had my custodian try to fix some of these things. He went to Home Depot and he bought some concrete and he patched them up. They came out this year and failed again. So that's another expense that I really need. The front door of the police station, the roof comes straight down over it, and the water just cascades off. We had a gutter there, but last year or the year before in the bad winter, the ice dams tore the gutter off, and it never got put back up. What really needs to happen is we need to have an awning type of thing in front of that door, such as we have in the town hall. And I spoke with a carpenter about giving me an estimate. I haven't got an estimate for it yet because obviously we don't have funding for it. So these are all things that we really need for the police station. We also this year we had a mouse infestation, and they got up inside the ceiling in one of the rooms, the ladies' room, and created quite a mess and pretty bad smell. And I had to have exterminator come out, and they had to do mitigation work and some deodorizing and stuff like that. So we really need to replace the ceiling tiles in some of these rooms. The walls could use some paint. It's just normal maintenance, but it's been a while since we've done anything like that. So,
and plus, go ahead.
I was going to say, these are all things that we really don't have the money in our regular budget to do. Level funding just, we're going to have enough trouble just trying to make it through with level funding with the rising costs. Computer contracts we run a software system called IMC. They tend to go up $400 or $500 every year, and I'm assuming this year will be no different. Any of the other contracts that we use are telephones, gasoline, electricity, all those things we have to pay for out of our budget, and they all keep going up. Last year, the board did find $5,000 to add to our gasoline, and I believe we're going to make it this year. So far, our utilities are kind of nip and tuck because the electric bill has been outrageous, but just because the second half of the police station is all electric heat and
those are the trailers.
Those are the trailers, yeah, exactly. As I put in here, the trailers are coming up for renewal on the lease. I've been told that they're not seeking an increase, however. So whatever we decide to do, whether we decide to lease them or we decide to actually rent them month to month, they'll guarantee us a price freeze. The units are 8 years old, so they're probably not worth as much as they were to begin with anyways. The one thing they won't do is sell them outright to us, because I asked them about that, because I like to have my options open.
Sure. It's just to explain to the people at home that when you look at the police station, everything, when you look at the I guess, what do we call it, the Pizza Hut
Yeah, the
building,
brick part.
The brick part.
The brick part is the original station, yeah.
To the right, those are trailers.
Those are trailers,
and
yes.
the police department's been living half in trailers since what,
Yeah, about 8 years.
About 8 years now.
Yeah. The trailers are funded by the town. The lease is funded by the town, but the money to install the trailers and equip the trailers came from a drug seizure fund that was brought about by Kevin Barry, the previous chief, and we had a detective lieutenant who was working for the federal drug task force, and we were able to share some of the proceeds of all the stuff that was seized, and cash and prizes, as they say, and that built us up a pretty good cushion. So that money was able to be used to set this trailer situation up, and now the town only has to support it.
And was it last year that you gave me the emergency phone call and I received about 6 o'clock in the morning that the roof was collapsing.
Yeah, we had to condemn the building temporarily because the snow load, and it wasn't actually last year; it was the year before.
Year before, that's
because
right.
we didn't have any snow last year.
That's right.
But we did have to condemn the building temporarily because we had probably a 4 or 5 inch deflection in the roof. William Scotsman came out and said, "Don't worry about it. The roof is rated to 65 or 70 pounds per square foot." And he said, "You're going to get some deflection, but you need to get someone up there and shovel it off." Well, we did. We had it shoveled off, and that created leaks. So we had to have leaks fixed. This year, knocking on wood, we've been pretty good. But again, they're all maintenance issues, and the longer you run something without maintenance, the more likely you're going to have a problem.
Sooner or later.
So moving on just a little bit, we also have negotiations with unions. The police union is currently negotiating. AFSCME, I believe, is their contract is up. My contract is up. Level funding doesn't address any of that. So if there's any wage increases or benefit increases that come from any of those contracts, additional funding will have to be provided, because I won't be able to squeeze it out of my budget. If I had to do that, I'd probably have to lay somebody off. So. I'm also anticipating the retirement of a senior staff member. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it seems fairly likely, and that's going to be within the next year, and that's going to create an opening which we're going to need to fill. There's a plus side and a minus side to that. When we hire a new full-time officer, he makes less than an experienced full-time officer because they run on steps. So there's a little savings to the town there, but we have to send that new full-time officer to a police academy, and he can't work while he's in academy, so we have to pay someone to work while he's gone. Well, there goes your savings right there in the first year. In the second year, we will see some savings, but in the first year, we'll be lucky to break even. We'll probably be in the negative, because the senior member is also a ranking member, and we're going to need to make associated promotions, which will be a wash, because we'll be replacing one senior position with another. So the cost will be a wash, except for the training that's required to make them capable of performing their new duties. So I'm a little vague on it right now, because until I know exactly what's going to happen and where we're going to go, I don't want to put numbers on it. But we could be looking at a $4,000 or $5,000 needing to
Would be nice
bring
to
this whole thing
be able to
back.
hire somebody right out of the academy, wouldn't it?
I'm going to say this because it's a very good question, and we could hire someone already academy trained, but we have people within the police department that have been kind of waiting their turn in line, and they've done a lot for the town. We know these people, so yes, we'll have a full open competition for the job, but I really like to take people from within side, because we know what we're going to get, and they've really, I don't want to say they've paid their dues, but in some senses they have, So I like to at least consider the in-town candidate, the in-house candidate, fairly
Plus they have
strongly.
historical knowledge of the town too, which
Exactly.
is vital.
Well, it gives them incentive too.
It does. It's hard to keep people working if they don't feel like they have any future. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses, and when we get to that point, I'll do a cost analysis for the board, and we can sit down and discuss it more thoroughly. But like I said, we're putting the cart a little bit before the horse. No one's announced their official retirement date or anything, but I'm just making sure the board is aware that this is coming down the pike. So basically, I close by saying that I completely understand the situation the town is in. I know what the budget's like, and I know how hard you guys work every single week, probably several nights a week, trying to keep everything afloat. But if I don't bring this stuff in front of the board, then I really think I've done the town and the police department a disservice not to bring it to your attention. So that's why we're here talking about it.
Well, I've always, Chief, I've always asked you to be frank with us and tell us, what's happening. Otherwise, everything gets swept under the carpet. We won't do that.
Exactly. So it would be easy for me to just say, oh, well, level fund, I guess that's all we can do, but I really feel like, we should at least bring some of these things to light. You'll find a budget packet, that's just for your information, the front page really says it all. What did we spend last year? What are we proposing to spend this year? There's your level fund right there. There is a breakdown of who gets what for salaries and things like that, if you feel like you want to look through some of the details. There's also the last page covers our expenses and what we spent on certain categories last year. Now, I'm not going to go through all that because it's, like I said, it's level funding. If we were looking to try and bolster any of these line items, then I'd be happy to go through and discuss it.
All those items that you mentioned.
Mr. Chairman, on the repairs to the building, I would suggest that I just get together with the chief on that, because that would be something that we really wouldn't need to put in your expense budget. Maybe we can have an article at town meeting. This year, we weren't looking at the capital equipment article, but some of the things that you've presented could have been folded in to the one we did last year.
Right.
But, you know, there could be money that we can look at and explore for the special town meeting if possible, to do maybe some of these things, or maybe at the fall town meeting.
Yeah, give us an ABC sheet, you know, of
Priority list, yeah.
Priority list,
I can
and
do that.
let us know, and as Debbie says, to get that on the warrant. You know, these items, you know, they have to be addressed.
Well, let's look and see what we can afford first, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, before they go on the warrant, please. If I could just get
Right.
together with them.
Well, that's the key, you know, I don't wanna put an article for something that we know we can't afford, and, you know, it just.
Well, that's why I
it
asked
just
for
makes it-
ABC, you know,
yeah.
priorities, and then let's look at it and see if we can afford it. Now, you know, I don't wanna put the
Right.
cart before the horse either.
Right.
But,
We're just running out of time, so, you know, maybe there's a couple of things in here, but so I just suggest we'll get together and we'll look at it and see if there's something, then go back to the selectmen with that, because we wouldn't normally put that in the expense budget, so.
Right.
I agree, it has to be addressed, just for example, the chief said the rusty doors and so forth, it's a fixtures.
Yeah, I would,
Little problems only turn into big problems.
yeah,
yeah,
I would prioritize the issues like that, and the flooring coming up and stuff like that. We'd make those priorities, those are safety issues.
a couple of years ago, we had to replace the floor in the dispatch room too. wasn't it?
We did that.
Yeah.
The dispatch floor should be in pretty good shape, because we did that. We paid for that out of the
Right.
911 improvement grant. So, but so the public understands, we're only allowed to use that for very limited purposes. We can't use it for stuff that affects the entire station. Only the area where the
Dispatch.
911 equipment is housed can we use that money for. It's very specific, and we can't use it for things like radios. It has to be strictly related to the delivery of 911 services. So,
And that room is a small room.
yeah.
You can't get really more than two offices in that room, really.
Right.
It's
Well,
tight quarters.
it's not really intended to have offices
No,
in there either. You know, it's
it's just your dispatchers.
yeah,
Yeah.
because if things get busy, it's tough for them to. They gotta try to follow all the different things, and too many distractions create problems.
Any questions from the board? The chief?
Basically, I fully agree that if you're not even keeping up with inflation, you're really
Falling
level
behind.
funding is
Falling
falling behind,
Right.
and to a point that where it's getting pretty desperate. We have to do something.
Yeah,
Jay, appreciate you
definitely
coming in and, you know, your frankness
Were
and,
we going to talk about the cruiser? Or is that on this agenda? or-
I do have that on the agenda, if you wanna just quickly, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman, we got a lot, and it's still another appointment this evening.
I'm only going to take 5 minutes to explain. Car 17, our oldest cruiser. We're about to throw our engine rod through the side of the block.
Well,
If you want to come down and listen to it, it's a
you're gonna have to
classic
tap it,
textbook
tick,
case.
tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
Using a lot of oil, right?
yeah, it's been using a lot of oil, and it's at a situation now where we can't run it. It's been out of commission for 2 weeks. It needs to be replaced. It's $6,500 for a motor. The car has 115,000 miles on it. I really don't think it's a very good investment
Yeah.
to put $6,500
again?
into a motor. I'm sorry,
What year?
2009.
6,500 for an engine?
That's what Ipswich Ford quotes us. Yeah, 6,500.
And that's a hard 116,000 miles.
Yeah.
A hard.
Yeah. The car was scheduled to be replaced in July, under the next new budget. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna. It's out of commission now. I really can't wait till July, so we're looking for options. That being said, I've contacted Ford, and they have a lease option, which I thought I'd bring to the board's attention. We can lease this car, a new car, in 3-year increments. Monthly, I wrote this down here. Hang on a minute. We can pay for it annually, or we can pay for it monthly. And,
Okay.
it's 6.15% interest,
Okay.
but a monthly lease on a cruiser would be $1,086.72 a month. Annually, it would be $12,701.07. Just a little bit about the leasing program. This is through Ford Motor Company. It's a municipal lease. It has to be designed in a specific way because, as we know, towns aren't able to appropriate money for
Right.
beyond one fiscal year.
Right.
So if you've got a 3-year lease, how do you do that? Well, it's accomplished this way by saying, if at the end of the year you can't fund it, you're off the hook. We come and take the car, and that's that. So they split it up in three even payments, and it's no holds barred, no harm, no foul. If you can't pay for it the next year, we'll just take our car and go home.
Okay.
So that doesn't happen very often, but that is the option.
What do you think our chances are of getting one that's only 2 years old?
Yeah.
Not good.
Chief, how long do you keep the cruisers now? 3 years?
Yeah, we're keeping them between 4 and 5 years,
4 and
depending
5.
on the car.
Really?
The unmarked cars are long. We keep longer. The car that I run right now, the Chief's car, is a 2009. It has low mileage, so it has life left in it.
So, Mr. Chairman, the point is, if we were to proceed with the lease purchase, there is the additional finance charges that we would
Right.
have to pay. The overall cost of the cruiser would probably exceed what you see in the chief's budget here, the first Form 1, line 55. Alternatively, he can't wait to the May 6th town meeting to get transfer at the town meeting. He could perhaps go to the finance committee and ask for this cost now and delete this number from the fiscal
Right.
14 budget. It would be sort of a wash. It's obviously, it's a very expensive kind of transfer, but it is unforeseen, it is an emergency.
It is an emergency.
That we just need to get a sense of what would be the best approach for the town.
Right.
I would be buying it earlier, be taking it out of the finance committee's reserve fund. That would reduce they have 50,000 in there. They haven't had any transfers this year. If there was an incident that happened after we close the warrant and go to print for town meeting, the only way to have any emergency funding is through the reserve fund or these interdepartmental transfers that are capped at 3% of the total budget. That we do those for very small transfers at the end of the fiscal year, and that's effective in May and June. So I think it's something that the selectmen really need to contemplate, because the lease purchase has the benefits of being able to maybe phase it in starting in this fiscal year, absorbing that monthly cost out of the police budget, which is somewhat strained right now, but possibly he may need a transfer in June or something.
Yeah, I probably would if we made, depends on how many payments we had to make this year.
And then budgeting, reducing this number if we were to lease it in the fiscal 14 budget to somewhat less, prorate it down, so there'd be obviously less, and then include that. And then in fiscal 15, we would have, the fiscal 15 lease payments along with probably the
Along with a new car, so you'd wind up paying more in 15 than you would in 14, but probably not by that much.
So it just, we need some guidance from the Board of Selectmen, and maybe we can continue this discussion next week, or take a look at the cruiser and see it at the police station.
Any thoughts on the board right now?
I think you're better off to buy it myself rather than lease it.
Generally, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Go to the finance.
The money you'd save.
Yeah.
What, 6%?
6%. Yeah,
And
you're
you
talking
go
about
to state debt, too.
$2,000,
Yeah.
just in rough numbers.
Yeah, to
It's
save.
$2,000 cheaper to buy it
Right.
outright.
Yeah.
We presented the lease option just as an option. We were thinking it would be the quickest way to get us into a replacement car. In full disclosure, I would talk to the people at the Ford dealer, and they say they were looking at probably a 5-week delivery, which just creates more problems. The longer we go, the more likely we are to have another problem. These cars get run all the time, so
I had a rebuilt engine one time.
No, forget
Well,
it.
yeah, and we could do that, but it just seems like good money after bad. Or,
Exactly.
Definitely.
I mean, I
Definitely.
had a bad experience with a rebuilt engine.
Yeah.
Well, you put the rebuilt engine in, then you still got the weak driveline.
Yeah, yeah,
Axles, transmission,
that's right.
that stuff is.
No, I fully agree with Selectman Dalzell that we ought to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Chain, if you repaired it, chain's only as strong as its weakest link.
Yep.
Yeah.
New engine and something else will
Are
go.
we gonna make
Right.
it by the ice budget?
Well, we've already exceeded the snow and ice. Normally, what we do is the finance committee, and a member of the finance committee is here this evening, so they transfer the balance of the reserve fund to offset into the snow and ice, to offset the deficit.
Right.
So, but it would wash out because, in theory, this number here, the amount that would be, the FinCom's reserve fund would be reduced, would not be raised and appropriated in the fiscal 14 budget.
But we would have less than 20,000 left in that reserve account.
Well,
Yeah,
we,
about 15.
yeah, so you would have that would be the remainder of the fiscal year. We do have, remember, a few years ago when the legislature passed the law to allow the interdepartmental transfers in May and June not to exceed 3% of the budget. That's another way to handle any unforeseen emergencies, allowing those types of transfers with the approval of the Selectmen and the Finance Committee. So even though the reserve fund would be reduced, would have that mechanism to make sure everything
Covered.
was
Yeah.
paid for at the end of the fiscal year. And the notion of using the reserve fund to offset the snow and ice deficit is more or less a wash, because while we are deficit spending, the town's budget will be reduced by the equivalent amount that
Right.
came out of that reserve fund transfer. Sorry, I'm speaking so quickly.
No,
Amy has to
okay.
leave. She has childcare issues, so I'll be taking over the minutes. Thank you,
Okay.
Amy.
Understood. Need a vote on this right now?
Well, if the chief plans to go to the finance committee, we certainly have to have the endorsement of the board of selectmen, and probably a selectman there to describe and support this transfer request. It is unforeseen, it is an emergency. That would be necessary. The FinCom is meeting Wednesday evening.
So you feel that go for the purchase
Absolutely.
of the vehicle?
Do we have a number, Chief?
Okay.
That would be
Yeah,
to buy the, well,
It's,
no,
it's $35,750 something dollars.
You got-
I didn't bring the
you
quote
got-
with me.
And
No, I
people
mean-
have
Oh, wait a minute,
to
maybe I did.
understand that these cars run 24/7.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and like, again, when I
And,
say
and one of the
5
reasons,
miles.
one of the reasons this car is a little more expensive is because they had the body style change. So a lot of the equipment in the old car.
Okay, we're back on the air. We took a short recess. We had a problem with the audio and video portion of the program, so here we are back live again. So, moving on, let's move on to general business number 1. Department of Agriculture Resources Animal Inspector nomination. The Department of Agriculture Resources Division of Animal Health is requesting that the annual nomination of Inspector of Animals. Board of Selectmen needs to vote to appoint Reed Wilson, the Inspector of Animals. Reed will sign the attached form. Reed will. He will enter some further date, future date.
Well, he can't sign it until the board nominates him.
And that's, okay.
That's just
So,
you, so you can see
well,
what
I'll make that motion.
There we
We
go.
need to vote to appoint Reed Wilson, Inspector of Animals. Reed will sign the attached form and we'll mail it into the state.
And I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Moving on, we did number 2, general business number 2. Moving on to general business number 3. Letter from Erica L. Geiger and Jesse C. Geiger. Speeding issues on Daniels Road. Mr. and Mrs. Geiger sent an email letter to the Board of Selectmen on March 14th. We are unable to attend tonight's meeting. I'll read into the record. The Geigers are available to meet with the Selectmen next Monday evening at 7:15. Additionally, Chief Barker has looked into this matter and update the board on this evening. I'll read this into the Mr. and Mrs. Geiger. Well, that's from the chief. Hold on one second. Let me find Okay. To whom it may concern, my name is Erica L. Geiger, and my husband is Jesse C. Geiger. My husband and I moved to Raleigh a year and a half ago, and live on Daniels Road. We are writing in concern of speeding issue on Daniels Road. Since moving into our home, we have contacted the Raleigh Police on several occasions, asking them to do something about the speeding issues. Daniels Road is a country road, therefore it has many twists and turns. If you travel down the road, you will see the shoulders at these winding parts are all torn up due to cars swerving on the shoulders at excessive speed in order to avoid crashing. As the cars approach the straightaways, they pick up speed and travel dangerously fast down the rest of the road. As you know, this road has many spots where students are picked up and dropped off on the school bus. Children are in danger when they are waiting at this bus stop or walking down the street. Recently, the construction has begun in Carriage Pines Golf Course, where they are in the process of building single-family homes. We are happy to see a sign prohibiting construction vehicles to drive to the site down Daniels Road. However, this is not being enforced. We have witnessed on many occasions construction vehicles passing by. Thinking about the future, we can only expect the volume of traffic to increase with the new construction. More traffic will just mean more speeding and danger to residents. We would like for something to be done to solve the problem before the pedestrian is struck and a major accident occurs. Erica, thank you, Erica Geiger and Jesse Geiger. So.
The chief, you would have got this in your mail packages this past week. The chief did communicate to Mr. and Mrs. Geyer. Here's his letter. If you haven't read it yet, it was in your mail last week. And he's also available to discuss this, though Mr. and Mrs. Geyer would like to come in next week. So I suggested 7:15 p.m.
Okay. Chief, can you give us any update on?
One thing I will say is the signs they're talking about posting that have been posted to address the trucks, they're not legal. We can't enforce them. They were put up by the contractor. Apparently there's a miscommunication whether or not they were going to put up regulatory signs or. But there's long and the short of it is you need to go through an entire process in order to restrict a street for heavy trucks, and we haven't done that process yet. It need to be voted by the Board of Selectmen. We need to apply to the state DOT, and there's a lengthy study that has to be presented, and we have to present alternative paths for the vehicles. For the commercial vehicles that are going to be restricted. It takes a long time. We've done it on roads before. Scott Levitt helped us do that in the past, and it takes quite a bit of time, and I think the project could probably be over by the time we get it done.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, when I was on the planning board, we first looked at Dodge Road and about the speed zone along the road. We had talked about, because residents had come to us and talked to us about speed regulations along the road. And again, we came back to the enforcement. I mean, it has to go into the state, and you have to apply to the state to go through this lengthy process to
change any speed limits.
Limit. So it's not as easy as
well. It's worse than that, because really what it is the state will tell us you need to do a 24-hour survey of the speeds. You can't use a marked cruiser. It has to be a blind survey.
Right.
And what they're gonna find is it's gonna record all the speeds, and depending on what the speeds are, they'll only let you go within 5%. So generally, a lot of times what happens is you wind up with a higher speed limit than you started with.
Right.
You can ask the retired Georgetown Chief Spencer about that problem. He tried to get the speed limit lowered on 133, and they wound up raising it on him. So it's kind of a crapshoot. The best idea, and I think the speed limit is posted appropriately up there, the best idea is to try to get some strict enforcement. For whatever reason, this is just coming to my attention now that they have this issue. So the last several days, I've made sure that the guys are out there trying to run right, especially during the daytime when it's, at least my opinion, that the new country club development has probably spurred some of this on. So I'm trying to get the guys out there on the
Sure.
day shift to run a little bit of radar and see if we can get things to slow down. The other thing that we're talking about doing is, and I didn't want to do that until we've met and got all the issues out, but we want to meet with the developer and talk with them and see what they can offer for us for suggestions. You know, they may be willing to do some voluntary compliance. So those signs, although they're not legal, we might be able to report violations to the general contractor, who could take some kind of punitive action against them. We can't issue tickets
Right.
for it, but maybe they could do something like that. So those are all options, and I considered probably meeting with the planning board as well to discuss, you know, how this whole thing kind of came about, because I'm a little mystified.
Yeah. Okay, so we can take some proactive measures.
We've already started.
Already started, so before the Geigers come in next week, and plus we'll sit there and discuss it with them. Okay.
Getting to your point there, I was down that road twice today. I followed truck in by Tarek's,
Yeah,
15 miles an hour.
yeah.
Followed two trucks, big loads, going out with debris, 15 miles an hour.
Good. That's what they're supposed to be
and
doing.
2 to 3 times a week, I come in through Daniels, never seen a truck, my own opinion. This is in the daytime, when the ongoing, working up there. So someone has said something, and like you say, the signs were put up, I think, by the company
They
a
were
week and
put
a
up by
half
the
ago.
company, yeah.
And they're good signs,
Yeah.
and I think they're obeying by what the signs are.
Issue with
If
the
you-
signs is, as long as people realize we can't,
Yeah.
the police can't enforce them.
No.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I see the cruiser there one day too, sitting
Yeah,
down
yeah.
just beyond, sitting there.
Yeah, I
think
made
the
sure
speed
that they're
limit's
on.
25.
Yeah, and I think the
Posted.
speed limit's appropriate as long as we get people going that speed.
Yeah,
So I think we can resolve this
yeah,
with some extra patrols
yeah.
and.
You know, reading these people's report, and they must think that there's, you know, well, like you say, they'll be here next week.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'd draw the issue
probably
with
let
them.
them speak for themselves, and, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to discount anything they have to say, because, you know, I
No.
haven't had a chance to talk with them.
Yep.
Right,
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
that.
Right.
Okay. All right,
thank you.
general business number 4, lifting hiring freeze for Finance Committee Secretary. The Finance Committee Secretary has submitted her resignation. The Finance Committee is requesting the Board of Selectmen lift the hiring freeze for this position. Do I have a discussion from the board?
No, I'll make a motion that we lift the hiring freeze for the finance committee secretary.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, secondly, I have a, number 5, lift hiring freeze for primary and secondary water operator positions. Water Board is asking the Board of Selectmen to lift the hiring freeze for the positions of primary and secondary water operators. Do I have,
I'll make that motion, we lift the hiring freeze.
I have a
Primary and
motion?
secondary.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, lifted. Minutes, has everybody read the minutes for February the 2nd, 2013?
Yep, I have.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's read them? Any amendments or anything else to the discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to accept the minutes for February the 4th, 2013?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, do I have a
As printed.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, February the 4th, 2013. Executive session, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll
Everybody
make
read them first?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read
Everybody read them?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept them?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Stu? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, one abstention. Okay. New business, discuss 2012 town report. We are nearly complete with the 2012 town report. Bob Murray has recommended the photo of the September 11th memorial. As you can see on the second page, is the board in agreement with Mr. Murray's suggestion for the town report, which will be that.
Great suggestion, Bob.
Yeah,
Very good.
Great,
Yeah,
Bob.
very good.
Very good.
So if you could tune in on that, Nate, if you can
And I also,
zero the camera in on that,
the narrative that goes with it.
yes.
Very nice.
Really good, yes.
That's the piece of steel from the World Trade Center in the plaque, with the poem that, what's her name? Lewinsky, Bella.
Bella.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, Bella. But anyways, it was a lovely poem, and we had a great day that day. And it's a great memorial to go by and look at, and it really sings true. Thank you, Nate. There you go, Bob. So, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion that we.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, Bob, thank you. That's a great idea for the town report. Okay.
Fine.
Okay, going on to new business, discuss the DEP administrative consent order. The Department of Environmental Protection sent Debbie the attached administrative consent order. Debbie met with the Water Superintendent John Rizzo, Business Manager Laura Hamilton, and Chairman Bob Snow today to go over the document. We are working on meeting with the requirements that the DEP has set forth. Debbie, John, Laura, and Bob Snow, and the town attorneys will be meeting with the DEP officials on Thursday. Any comments from the board? Do we need we don't need a motion on this or anything else?
No, I just, wanted to make sure that the Board of Selectmen was aware that we did receive this consent order from the DEP.
Okay. And again, we will be meeting on Thursday with the DEP, okay, just to make you aware, okay? All right, moving on to Old Town Business, Town Administrator update, annex siding. The estimated cost to insulate the Town Hall Annex with cellulose blown insulation and to reside the building with cedar siding, replacing trim with PVC, painting and installing gutters is $135,000. The project will need to be presented to the Community Preservation Committee to request the funding. Any questions from the board? Make a motion to
Yeah, I'm looking for some authorization. Mr. Perry will be at the meeting on Thursday.
I will.
So, because we've changed the scope of this for a variety of just different reasons that have come up over the past couple of months, we were clear on track for that cement board and worked hard to get it to that level. And so we've switched now to cedar shingle, but non-finger jointed cedar shingles. So this would just be flat board, and would have to be painted. So it just changes the price, so that I want to make sure that I've got the board's approval. I'll work on the application with Amy.
Any other
Get that
discussion?
filed, get a copy to Mr. Perry. And I would like one other selectman probably to attend the CPC meeting.
I'll be glad to go.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be Thursday at the library.
What time?
7 o'clock. 7:30, I believe.
Does the board, any other discussion on this?
I did,
Do you need a vote from the board?
Well, to file the application on behalf of the Board of
Do I have a
Selectmen.
motion from the
I'll
board?
make that motion. We file the application
Okay.
with
Do
the,
I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I did do the research with the state CPC, and they will not fund a project where the cement board, they said you could use the cement board, but they would not fund the project. You could not use CPC money to fund.
For cement board.
Right,
So this would fit for the funding.
exactly.
Yeah, and this was a situation where the Historic District Commission does accept that as part of a product for historical restoration.
Right.
But unfortunately, the standard for the CPC is a little bit higher. So we will have to go back to the Historic District Commission and refile for a certificate of appropriateness. I didn't have time to do that because we kept researching the different types of cedar shingles. So I'm sure that that would be fine with them because that's actually more authentic, I guess. But we'll have to do that.
Well, if we can get that done before next winter, that would be
Good.
nice. There's a year and a half ago, there was a new boiler, so we'll be gaining.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, announcements. The Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. The Raleigh Food Pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. They are in desperate need of food. So if you can make a donation to Food Pantry, please do in those hours they just mentioned. Also, you can have a drop-off basket at the library. The town has the following vacant seats: the planning board, a full member, and also a planning board associate member. And zoning board of appeals has 3 openings for associate members. So again, this is a great way to get involved with the town. And I told you this, and you've heard me sound like a broken record, but Larry took them. This is a great way to get involved in the town and to meet some people and broaden your horizons when it comes to town government. What the town looks like, I've always said this 100, 200 years from now. It's not the Board of Selectmen, it's the planning board. The planning board is kind of the visionary portion. So if you have any kind of interest like that, please get in touch with the office here and we'll get your name to either to the zoning board of appeals or to the planning board. Battery recycling box is located right out here in the corridor and then also at the library. So if you have any alkaline batteries lying around the house, you don't know what to do with them, don't throw them in the trash, put them in a little Ziploc baggie, save them up and drop them off right here right across from the town clerk's office or at the library. Right now, next thing, a call for a motion to go into executive session, call for the purpose of conducting non-union employee contract negotiation and collective bargaining strategy, because an open session meeting may have detrimental effect on the town position, bargaining position. Ask for
I'll make that motion for an executive session.
I have a motion to go into executive
Not to
session.
return.
And not to return.
Not to
to
return.
regular-
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All
Jack
those
Cook.
in favor with a roll
Roll
call vote?
call, Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Perry.
I, Robert Snow.
I Stu Dalzell.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Good night now.